content of this channel is for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised. You're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification button. And please, feel free to share the video. Thank you.
Yo, what's cracking, man? You know who I am, man. I'm Gigi. You tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. It's the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up with no chasers, man. You know how it is. And, before I get things started, as I always do, I want to give a shout out to the haters. Hope y'all having a pleasant afternoon. But when you come in, man, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button, man, so we can push that algorithm forward, man. And like I always do, I want to shout out all the members of the Green Gorilla channel, every last one of them, man. So shout out to Black Men Being Brutally Honest, Artisan MC, Dub Will, Mr. Good Dad, Dar, Third Coast X, Lamar Johnson, Rais Muajid, and Lee Ways. Big up to y'all, man. Big up to Roderick Jackson, Michael Ross, 63rd Samurai, Ben Cannon Kenton, Sheridan Woe, Devon Loveridge, Ishmael Samad, The Watcher, Barnolis, and Hostile Adep. Big up. Big up to the cold-hearted revelator, Lord Hamal, Kill the Gang, Dr. Thunder, BGS Ibmore, Jason Hales, Charles Finney, Interesting Thought, Bim Rock, and Blacksword 404. Big up. Big up Until I'm Not, Apex Prowler, Naomi Gary, J. Cleveland Green, The Toxic Masculinist, Pulpit 28, No Sleep, Broken Blade, Mr. King, and Larry R. Big up. Big up Seth Son, Afro Truth TV, Show Me, Spain Man, Seven Coast Dojo, Anthony Davis, I'm Just Jules, An Honest Look, Ricky Dawson, and Stefan. Big up. Big up Julius Ferguson, True 7360, Mr. Me Too, Call for President, Gold Professor, AKs and Curtains, H-Town, Roguish the Billmonger, Adrian Thomas, and Electrician 480. Big up. Big up Bingo, Cutting Up with the Jones, Zanco 1, D. Scott, Path Guy, Pete Rock, Aaron Peters, Vincent Lindsay, Quiz the Poet, Black Wizard, ADOS, and Jazz Tech. Big up. Big up Shadow Observer, Troy Warren, Mrs. KP Bailey, Alan Wiley, The Face, Life of Commerce, AI Apostle, Timothy Blewett, Jeffrey Speed, and Marvin Battle Jr. Big up. Adam, Ignatz Mouse, Brian Peaks, Black Uru, Dr. Trees, 77 Base X, Brian McMurray, Karen S., Charles Rogers, Rick Ross. Big up. Big up Sandra Jean, Charles Gilmore, Greg Berry, Little, Mr. Valentino, Cameron 87, Dr. Rock, Mark Swift, and Al Collard. Big up. Shout out to Donald Watts, Coach Hotep, Old Soul Chief, Mr. Blue Collar, TD Hip Hop Media, Drew Main, Mr. Heat, Sir Anthony, MLR, Universal 178, Rashid Barnes, Aaron Smith, DH, A-Double, Dr. Tiasan Johnson, Kalonja Kala, and W. Pierre 1. Big up, man. Thank you so much for being members of the Green Gorilla channel. I appreciate that. And also, on the Patreon side, I want to give a shout out to Robert Wicks, Shine Language, Chris Flowers, Christopher Burton, Dax BJ Live, Rashawn Phillips Sorrells, Keith Bass, Nick, Albert C, Dr. Ben Vincent, I'm the Light of My Father, Waffle Weave, Excalibur, Preserve Prisoner, Taz, Dragon 59, Jay Bailey, Mr. Michi, Mo Mal, and the Sangwa. Big up, man. Y'all deserve a round of applause. Thank you so much for supporting Green Gorilla channel. And if you want to be a member of the Green Gorilla channel, here's how you do it, man. So, I really would appreciate you becoming a member if you appreciate the content. So here's how you do it, and then I'll be back with what we're doing, man. What's good, everybody? I'm the G with a PhD, and you're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel, the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up, no chaser. Today, I want to introduce you to my new membership program that consists of 5 levels where you can invest in the Green Gorilla channel on a monthly basis and receive level-specific perks. Memberships are special because they improve the quality of the content of the channel and will help me to be able to keep the channel going. Now, to participate in the Green Gorilla channel membership program, all you have to do is hit the join button, which is located right next to the subscribe button on my channel page. Now, for all of my subscribers who decide not to participate in my membership program, nothing will change. The content will keep coming the way it always has. Thanks for watching, and be careful out here, people. Bless. Thank you so much, Stuart D. Knight, man. Appreciate that, man. Thank you for the donation, man. You know, I had to duck off for a few days, man. My birthday just popped off, man. So, you know, hey, man, I had to do my thug thizzle, you know what I mean? But thank you so much, man. I appreciate that donation, man. For real, though, man. Straight up. Appreciate that. So I brought a friend along today. What's going on with you, Sandal? What's cracking?
What's going on, fam? You know, said, look, man, happy belated birthday, and your S-Curl kit is in the mail.
Oh, shit, man. You know, sporting ways, man. Not the S-Curl, man. At least give me the sporting ways, bro.
You know, said the S-Curl kit and the DVD pack of Good Times. All season. You know
I know that's right, man. I know that's right, man. Thank you so much, man. You know, hey. 52 years old, man. It is what it is. It's a blessing to be 52, man. It is what it is, man. You know?
That's super fast.
Shout out to Stuart D. Knight, man. Appreciate that, bro. Straight up. Yeah. But talk to us, man. What we talking about today, man? You know, right now, it's a lot of shit going on in the manosphere. You caught a little flack last week, I guess, for even suggesting anything related to nationalism or Pan-Africanism. So
yeah, man. Yeah, because, you know, look, basically, you know, today's show is that egalitarianism is not good for leadership, right? So a lot of what's promoted in American society, or especially amongst, you know, African Americans, you know, the idea of if you're going to be a leader, you know, everything is 50-50, you're going to see eye to eye, and things always operate under mutual consensus, so that way no one feels oppressed, right? All of that is just complete hogwash. And this space being a space where Black men are starting to discover particular levels of self-determinism, economically, politically, you know, etc. I think that this is something that needs to be discussed. And it's not animated from the aspect of what you could do from the other side, but animated from the aspect of you becoming your best possible self, right? So it has nothing, what I'm bringing up really ultimately has nothing to do, even though it may come up, it has nothing to do in regards to what you need to do for the other side of the Black community, but in terms of Black men understanding, you know, the things that take place for you to be your best possible self. So a lot of you know that I am, you know, that I'm former military, right? And so when being in the military, when I had my soldiers, right, I was responsible for everything. I'm talking about damn near every aspect of their lives, right? So I was a tank platoon leader. I had 16 soldiers then, and I had 4 tanks worth $5 million apiece. I'm 21 years old. And so now I have the souls of 16 people and $20 million, you know, under my command, right? Similar with my scout platoon. And then by the time I go to war, I'm second in command of 220, not by the time I go to war, while I'm in war, because I took the scout platoon and then I got lateral promotions, right? So the scout platoon had 30 plus men in it. My support platoon had 64 men in it. And by the time I became a executive officer, I was second in command of 227, you know, operating on the Iran-Iraq border over the span of 300 kilometers, right? And I say all of that, man, is when we talk about how egalitarianism is not good for leadership, it was one thing. Let me back up. As a commissioned officer, your powers come from the president. As a non-commissioned officer, your powers come from the Secretary of Defense. So, as we all know, right, the blessing from the president trumps the secretary, of defense. And it's not that I didn't listen to my men. It's not that I didn't take counsel from my men, but the ultimate decision was mine, right? That's one. And secondly, or I would even say first, one of the things that led to the trust between me and my men, and I'm saying this for black men in general, is that I established something in leadership that we call the moral authority to lead, right? So the moral authority to lead is the fact that I could talk the talk and walk the walk. So if my soldiers did 50 push-ups, I could do 80. If they could do, I don't know, 60 sit-ups, right? I can do 90. If they could run 2 miles in 14 minutes, I could do it in 12 minutes, right? So making sure, right? So, because that's a part of leadership, right? So to the best of my ability, when I had my platoons or my soldiers or even the things that I do now, I always did my best to make sure, in a sense, I was the first person in the building concerning it and the last person to leave the building, right? In regards to, I'm not talking about efficiency, but in regards to professional development, to growth and all of these things. So if my soldiers were marksmen with their weapons, I did my best to make sure that I was sharpshooter or expert, right? So again, as what we would have in Omega Psi Phi, right, in one of our favorite poems, the desire was to be a cut above the rest, right? So the fact that for a lot of my soldiers, I was bigger, stronger, faster, etc., you name it, this and the mutual respect that I shared with them was a part of building the moral authority to lead, right? And so for us as a group of men, right, amongst ourselves and our community, I think what happens is that many of us are not taught this concept of leadership because, again, we're raised in an environment where there's egalitarianism, right? Everything is 50-50, right? You and so are equal. You could pick up a car, she could pick up a car, right? You could tame dinosaurs, she can tame dinosaurs. And so when you're raising people or a group of men in an egalitarian environment, you're not going. A drawback of it is that you're not going to develop the type of people with certain levels of ambition or what we will call or what we would call go-getters, right? Because the idea is that I'm going to have a partner or somebody that's out there that's going to help me carry half the load, as opposed to seeing or understanding that, okay, whether it be family or any other institution that I serve, that I'm the guy in the captain's chair and I really need to have my stuff together because people are dependent upon me. Right?
Yeah. So, okay, so I take it that so the first point you're saying is that the moral authority to lead, meaning that you got to be better than the people that you're leading to begin with.
Yes.
Okay. Now, bring this home in the context of the conversation as it pertains to black men in America. Is this like relationship-wise? I mean, like, is this like politics in general? Like, is this like, how are you applying this? So, I mean, I'm just asking the question. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to play devil's advocate and shit.
Okay. Well, again, for the most part, man, I'm applying it, I'm applying it to all areas of life. But at the end of the day, let's start with family, for example, right? Most communication is nonverbal, right? So when me and my wife first got married, right, I'm a brand new Muslim, right? And my wife is, she's getting back and she's looking to get back into the religion, and everything else. It's 3:30 in the morning. Sandor rolls up, gets out of bed, brushes his teeth, throws on the stove, and I'm getting ready to walk out the house. And my wife is like, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to the mosque to pray Fajr," right? And she's like, "Wow, this guy just came into the religion, and look how seriously he's taking it." Right? So we will be at home or hanging out or whatever, or on the phone if we're not at work. And when that back time and that back channel hit, when that adhan went off, right, I would do my whole process and everything else, and I would walk to the masjid. And then as a result of that, my wife began to follow me, right? Because I said nothing to her, right? Oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. I just did what I know that I needed to do. And as a result of her watching me, right, walking the walk and talking the talk, she started to follow me into, not just prayer, but other other aspects of life, and where, I was dealing in self-improvement or self-development, whether it was working out or when it's time to read or something, something of that nature. Okay, like when I signed up for my MBA program, and what she said was, one of the main reasons why I married you is because whenever you said you were going to do something, you did it, and it happened.
For sure. So I take it this is about like family life, okay? Primarily, this claim you're making has something to do with family life, right? And the first thing you're saying is that you have to establish moral authority, and ultimately that means that you have to demonstrate that you're actually fit to lead. Yes. Not just by talking about it, but by actually walking the walk, such that you're the example that you claim that you want others to be like. I mean, you get out there and you do it yourself before you require others to do it. So you live the example instead of talking the example.
Correct.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So look, you're right though. We live in a country though that emphasizes egalitarianism. Like if you start telling chicks like, "Look, I want you to do X, Y, and Z," she's gonna be like, "I'm just playing devil's advocate. Well, I'm gonna do A, B, and C. I don't want to do X, Y, and Z." So there you go. Here we are right here. Well, you can't make me do this. I'm gonna call the police. Oh, you're trying to control me. Oh, you're trying to tell me what to do. So then here comes the issue of submission and so on and so forth. So a lot of times, a lot of women say that they want a strong man and they want a man to be able to lead. But then when they get subjected to a male leadership, then all of a sudden they consider it to be oppressive and dominating and controlling and some shit like that. How do you respond to that?
Again, my thing is, and again, thank you for helping me land it. My thing is that for Black men, the pursuit of excellence should be something that belongs to you. You should know how you want your life to play out, right? You should, again, if I could turn back the hands of time, one of the things that I would have done is I would have spent time, more or less, again, getting to know myself, right? So I went from the projects of Brooklyn to a dorm room to a home, with the spouse, right? And if I could turn back the hands of time, I would have taken probably another 5 to 10 years to live with myself, to understand myself, my boundaries, what my habits are, and what I want out of life, and if somebody can fit into that, right? And so a lot of times, because many of us don't know what we want out of life, or there hasn't been anything else established around where you want to go, right? You kind of end up in the space where you really don't have too much of standards for anything. You're still very malleable in a sense. And I think that you have to give yourself a chance to develop a value system and certain habits that you become rigid about. So even then, and it's like what I said, right? At the end of the day, if you were to develop this, it would be very easy for you to look at people and understand that you don't fit that you don't fit into my lifestyle. So like, let's say for example, like when
Hold on, but before you go on and move forward, I want to shout out Ronan 76. Appreciate the donation, man. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Appreciate that, brother. Appreciate it. Go ahead, Sandog.
Okay, so let's say I'm Gigi, right? I'm the Qs, I'm the bras, right? And I'm in ROTC and I'm on the football team, right? So now, for the most part, I'm working out 3 times a day. I'm shredded, you know what I'm saying? You know, I'm shredded like wheat, right? You know, I got muscles on top of muscles and everything else. And now, you let's say, you got a homegirl who want to get with you, right? But, homegirl, let's say 5'5", 250 or 230 or whatever the case might be, right? So although she may be attracted to you, right, and you may think she's cool, it may not be a good idea. It may not be a good idea to date her because you and her have very different lifestyles, right? So you have a lifestyle that requires that you eat a certain way, you work out a certain way, you have a particular regimen, and if you're dealing with somebody that eats how they want and sleeps how they want and do all these different things, right? Because the company that you keep matters, right? So that person or that influence may be a detriment to your lifestyle, right? So you have forces out there or people out there who would say, okay, you're especially when it's men turning women down, like, okay, you're being shallow or you're being this, that, and the third. But at the end of the day, you're living a lifestyle. It's the same way as, okay, Sandog is a clean Muslim, but you're beating me up for not trying to wife up the crackhead and give her a shot.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
look, it makes sense. I mean, you have to be more selective and more discerning in who you pick for a mate instead of just, a cute face and, a fat ass. You know what I'm saying? It's not, I mean, you know how we are though, man. I mean, let's just keep it a buck, man. Dudes, man, like we fall for the beautiful chicks and shit with the fat asses and the cute faces. But really, half the time, like a lot of these chicks don't really be on shit. I mean, just keep it a buck, man. And I'm pretty sure something can be said the same for men, like just to be fair here about how, a lot of men don't have a lot of ambition, okay? Whether it's white, black, red, brown, whatever the case may be, okay? But in this culture, man, it's just like mixed messages being sent. So, on the one hand, as a man, you're supposed to be resolute, and you're also supposed to be decisive and in control, and you're supposed to be able to exhibit leadership qualities. But simultaneously, there's the requirement that, you be understanding and that you don't be too controlling and that you don't impose your will too much. And, let's step away from relationships, though, and let's talk about it in the abstract again before we get too seated in making it all about women, right? So I would just assume, like, in certain situations, egalitarianism is going to be a disaster as it pertains to decision making, especially, if the decisions have to be made in the context of chaos, okay? Or like the situation is one of turmoil. I don't want to have to just, like if I got kids around me and I tell them, because there's danger, go in the car. I don't need for them to, sit and reflect on why I ought to, right? I want to do this now. I was watching this movie, or I'm playing with this toy, or I'm eating my food. Like, get the fuck in the car. You get what I'm saying? Like, if there's an emergency situation, then, like one could argue that having like powwows and deliberating and engaging in, dialogue is going to be to the detriment of whoever is going through that situation, okay? So, especially if you're a unit, okay? That's why Like a coach on an NBA basketball team, he's making the plays, unless, of course, he's delegating authority to one of his players. You know what I'm saying? But, like, typically the coach is going to be like, here's the play. Time out. He's not waiting on, to find out if the players are ready for a timeout. He has to be able to discern and see it with his own two eyes and to make his own judgment practically on what to do in that situation. Timeout. Here's the play we're going to run. We've gone over this in practice. Do X, Y, and Z. But when it comes to contemporary, culture, man, it's like people will accept, let me just say this. I think people will accept direction and control in the workplace more so than they will in their personal lives or in their family lives. What do you got to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, again, like I said, this is absolutely true, and coming into the abstract, right? And this is my argument about, not an argument, rather, but this is what I'm saying is that when they talk about how the revolution won't be televised and the lion will lay with the lamb, all of these things are things that are capable or can be achieved from what's inside you. That's what the revolution won't be televised means, right? It's that, your ability to overcome yourself and your own flesh and to become your higher self, right? And when one goes through this process, this is something that people can see, man. Like, this is something that people can see when you start to, make these changes. So, like, if you're somebody like Malcolm X, right, who kind of started out in the streets, and then, you find Islam or whatever you're going to find, and, you go and you turn your life around. That's something that people notice. And a person that lives a regimented and disciplined life is something that's very attractive to people in general. So again, like, we're not talking about, like, in the sexual sense, but people are drawn to that. So somebody who is disciplined, who's resolute in their actions, right? This is the type of person that makes or allow, to your point, that allow people to feel safe, right? Regardless of what the circumstance or the environment is. And I just think that for us, like, especially in the space, we're not talking about the things that will give you personal power, right? And one of the main things that gives you personal power is control, over, like I said, over your own flesh, right? So things become different between you and your environment when you're engaging it from a particular perspective, right? So when you're engaging the opposite sex, if they know, hey, Green Gorilla is a straight shooter, and whenever I talk to this dude, I'm talking business, and I need my I's dotted, my T's crossed, right? Then they're going to engage you a lot differently than the people that they run around and pal around with, right? There's a difference. So even for me, when I was a young boy, right, I was far more afraid of my father than I was my friends, which is why I'm here today and I'm able to talk to you, right? So when I was a kid, my father's word was law. and you know what I'm saying, we could be like the intro to the Biggie album and be like, yo, Sand Dog, you want to rob the mother effing trains? Nah, fam, not at all. Because the face that I saw was my father's face, right? And my father played zero games with me, right? To tell you the truth, my pops is a lot like, if you could take what Spice Adams does in his skits, mix it with Bernie Mac and Robin Harris from House Party, that's my father. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying? My pops, he like I said, again, he played no games with me. And and this is what I'm trying to say. So even for me, like, when I was a boy, my father would manage all my movements. He would do all these things, right? And I know I'm jumping a bit, but when you talk about self-mastery, right, and self-improvement, I'll never forget that day right before I was on the cusp of turning 19. And I came home with the scholarship to pay for the rest of my 3 years of college. And I ended up working 3 jobs for the summer. So one at a daycare, one at a clothing store, and a construction job on the weekends. And I took that money, bought my new clothes, bought my books, had my scholarship, bought my bus ticket back from school. So I wasn't there just making money and blowing it. And when my father saw me doing all of that, our relationship changed drastically. It went from, you know what I'm saying? It went from father and son and parenting to a traditional sense where now my father now is starting to respect me as a man, right? And, you know, and thank God, man, since the age of 18 or almost 19, you know, I haven't taken a dime from my father since. I've been financially independent of him since pretty much the age of 19. And so, you know, these um, these things for us as men is important. And when you're talking about an egalitarian mindset too, an egalitarian mindset is dangerous in regards to ambition, right? Because again, the the whole idea of the I think for some people, everybody's motivated differently, right? But probably for many people, the whole idea of, well, if I can't pull the sled, there's going to be somebody else. There's going to be somebody else to do it for me. Maybe for a lot of guys or certain types of people, that doesn't put them in the right place to have, um, to have certain levels of motivation, right? Because again, taking care of taking care of yourself as a man is serious, like in regards to your health, your finances, and everything else. But also taking care of other people is a very serious thing, right? If one of my soldiers went out and passed out from heat exhaustion, I'll be relieved of my command. It will be taken from me. When my soldiers when they went and pissed hot for drugs and all that stuff, I got chewed out with them. I got chewed out with them the same way they got chewed out. I mean, even down to the point, Gigi, of paying their bills. So I knew when my soldiers wouldn't pay for their car note, or if somebody was going to get something repoed, because the way the military works is when you get loans and all of that stuff, your first line supervisors details and all of that stuff goes into it. So when they would go get car loans and all that other stuff or whatever, either me or the platoon sergeant, would sign off on it that they could pay the loan. So if it came that little private so-and-so couldn't pay for his Camaro, I would get a phone call saying, hey, so-and-so missed his payments, and now we have to march him up to brigade finance either to relinquish the car or figure out a way that he can pay his bills.
Oh man, that's a lot of shit right there, kid.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was that that was the level that we were dealing with these guys, man. My homeboy, God rest his soul, who passed away. Him and his wife were in Austin at dinner for their wedding anniversary, and he got a phone call. Hey, is this Lieutenant so and so? Hey, is Sergeant so and so your guy? Yeah. Well, we got him down at KP at the Colleen Police Department. You need to come get him. Right? And my man had to get up from his wedding anniversary, right? And go get him. So there have been many a nights, man, where at that time I drove an expedition. I jumped in my expedition, and because I don't drink at all, never did. And if I got that phone call from Wild Country or whatever strip club or whatever at 4 or 3 in the morning, you know what I'm saying? Because again, that's what I told them. Don't drink and drive. Uber ain't around yet, right? Hey, I'll come get you, right? And that's what I would have to do. I would have to roll out of bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, drive across town to Wild Country. That's where my guys like to party, and I would pick them up and take them home. So when you're talking about everything from self-care. And again, the self-care comes in regards to being the best possible person you could be. And then that translates to, this is something that translates into other areas of your life, like family or work, and everything else. And so if you're not, so for us, for us as men, right, let's rule out, either inside of ourselves and externally, right? If your idea is that I'm going to be a leader and I'm going to, hey, I'm going to put you guys on my back and win this goddamn football game, right? Then at the end of the day, right, the whole mindset of, okay, things are 50-50 or egalitarian doesn't work. Again, it's not that you don't get counsel. It's not that you don't get help. It's not that you cannot receive help on the way. But again, respecting the fact that the mantle of leadership is yours, the burden of leadership is yours, and that this is something, and that this is something that you are willing, to carry, right? It's something that you need a particular perspective on. And then if you are going to take on a family, to understand that outside of your pleasure and high school love and shit like that, that this is a real responsibility. So even in Islam, it says that when a man takes on a wife, he's completed half of his religion, right? Because you have now done your part to ensure that there's peace in society, right? Because that's what marriage does. It helps to facilitate peace in society. So you have now done your part. You've completed half of your religion, right? And so now, just like what you said, when you're looking at decisions having to be made, right, or moves to be taken, right, you could, like I said, you can make those decisions. And the reason why I'm coming here giving you guys this message is because, again, we're talking about it in the abstract, but also relationships, right? So you're hearing from women, although egalitarianism comes out of their mouth, that's not what they want, right?
Yeah. I heard you say something to that effect the other day. Or maybe you texted. I think you might have, sent that on a messenger or something like that. Like basically, women are saying one thing, but they want something else.
Yeah. So,
but here's my issue with all of this, right? I'm gonna play devil's advocate with you because I'm partial to what it is that you're saying to a certain degree.
Yeah.
And let me explain to you why, okay? And maybe you haven't thought as deeply about this, maybe as I've thought about it to some degree, but I'll tell you why, okay? Now, of course, if it's the case that like a decision has to be made, egalitarianism is going to make making the decision more difficult. Like we already know that like egalitarian leadership is going to involve taking into consideration everybody's input before they make the decision, okay? Mm-hmm. It's going to foster mutual respect, so to speak, or whatever the case may be, right? However, it's also going to slow down the decision-making process or lead to less effective decisions, right? Especially if everybody involved, if you have to like interpolate the will or the opinion of somebody who really doesn't even know what the fuck they're talking about. They don't have the necessary expertise or the experience, but they want input. Right. That's going to be a problem, okay? Also, egalitarianism is going to create a kind of it's going to block or mask authority and control, okay? And so your authority is going to be less defined if it's the case that egalitarian obtains, because who's the arbiter of disputes if there's a problem related to it? If there's confusion about roles and responsibilities or who's actually ultimately responsible, then of course it's going to be a problem for leadership, okay? What about risk taking? You know what I'm saying? Like if you're going to be bold and show initiative and innovate and things of this nature, right? It's going to be difficult to do that and make decisions collectively because you can't make the decision quickly. It's going to take time. Okay?
Correct.
And then what if there's a conflict or a dispute, like I said? Right? And there are differences of opinion. I don't want to do this. Well, like I can tell you this. In different situations, I can understand, people, conversing and having a conversation. But like, it all depends on the circumstances. Like if it's, just using the sports analogy again, if it's 4th down and I said, okay, punt. And then the fucking kicker goes out and tries to, run a motherfucking fake play, then we lost 30 to 40 yards, man. You understand what I'm saying? Because he opted to make a decision that, was contrary to mine, and I'm the defined leader of the squad if I'm the head coach. You see what I'm saying? So
Right.
then there's also a deflection of responsibility. Like, so if it's the case that egalitarianism obtains, then you can say, well, it's not. I'm not really responsible for losing the house. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I mean, or responsible for the car note not being paid. I mean, but if there's a clear leader, then you know who's responsible. You know what to do in the case there's a conflict. You know that, you don't have to pussyfoot and try to, work super hard to convince people about what to do, right? So this is especially the case as far as I'm concerned when it comes to, like turmoil, like chaotic situations, okay? You definitely need unity. You don't need to be thinking about like how to settle a dispute and like dealing with your objectionable, or like irascible teammate or your bitch of a wife. Nobody, like, you ain't got time for that. We out here trying to make it out here and to win. And you got all this conflict and all this turmoil going on. And there's no cohesion because nobody knows who's actually in the pilot seat. You know what I'm saying? Imagine being on an airplane and, the passengers are actually flying the fucking plane. It's just, it is what it is. So slow decision making, challenges to authority, everybody, might not have the expertise. These are all issues that will arise when there's no clearly defined leader, man. But, however, though, but you got to keep this in mind in this culture. Who's really in the driver's seat? Like, I hate to say this shit, but in a large portion of situations, man, women are in the fucking driver's seat, dog. I gotta be frank about that. Like, I gotta be frank about that. And it's not due to the fact that men aren't stepping up. It's due to the fact that women have institutional power that men don't have. So, I mean, like it's like men, I won't even say black men, I'm just saying in general. It's like men exist between a rock and a hard place in this culture. Mm-hmm. You want to be the fucking leader, but as soon as you try to lead and you say, nah, we ain't doing that. No, we're not going there. Well, you can't tell me what to do. Okay, well then go off and do what you want to do then. Yeah. You try to make your wife do some shit today, it's DV. It's abuse of some kind.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, or if you get too stern and hurt her feelings, then you've engaged in some sort of psychological, pathological act or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So, what else, man? Like, when it comes to who governs the relationships between parents, like, who's the authority figure in the household? That chick can get your ass kicked out of the house. I want him gone. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, but that's why you got to be careful of who you fuck with. But then even if you are careful of who you fuck with, though, saying, dog, it can still turn out bad for you, bro. You feel me?
Yeah.
But let me shout out, I got to shout out some people, man. I want to shout out Green Company Consortium. Appreciate the Cash App, man. Appreciate that, bro. Real talk, man. Appreciate that. So, all I can say is, it's, you know, we're dealing with a set of circumstances, man. It's fucked up right now. This is why, like, okay, so right now a conversation is being had on BGS channel about what to do if women come back to the table. It's like, bro, even if they do come back to the table, what the fuck you gonna do with them? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, like, I'm not even trying to be ignorant by saying this. I'm saying, what are you gonna do with them, bro? I mean, now one thing I do know is this. This is a fact. I said this much to BGS not too long ago. Like, men and women are inextricably interconnected, whether you like it or not. So, whether they are at the table being agreeable, whether they're being disagreeable, whatever the fuck they're doing, you got to deal with women. At some point in your life, there is no way that you can avoid having to deal with women. Now, as you get older and, you know, you're an adult, you can go monk and actually restrict your contact with women if you desire, if that's what you want to do. But prior to you becoming an adult, you don't have a fucking choice. And not only that, until they actually create artificial wombs and then people are born outside of the fact, you know, that they actually are birthed into the world by a woman. Like, until that shit changes, you're definitely connected to a woman, dog. It ain't no fucking way around it. There ain't no way around that, bro. Like, a lot of guys like to act and pretend as if, like, there's something different they can obtain related to that. Now, I mean, you know, how you deal with people in your interpersonal life, that's one thing. But beyond the fact that, you know, that's a choice, like, the reality is you're thrown into a family. Nobody gets to choose what family they're born into, bro. So you got to deal with chicks. You know what I'm saying? So, but the question is, come back to the table in what way? And for what reason? Just because you want something? Now, I'm here because I want something. I'm here because I need something from you. It's one thing for a motherfucker to come to you because they really, you know, have a desire to, you know, be substantively connected to you, you know, like authentically or whatever. It's another thing for a motherfucker to only come back to you because they need some shit. Mm-hmm. That's what I call want something for nothing friends and shit. I don't fuck with people like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want something, like, all I am is a utility, man, fuck all that shit. You can stay where you at, bitch. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you know, like my man said, he said, I don't think men will go for artificial wombs. Now, look, man, until that situation changes, until there is a material fact about the world that you have to be birthed into it by a woman, you have to be connected to them. And then also, like, I mean, a lot of times, I'm not going to get into a philosophical conversation about artificial wombs because it's just not the place and the time. So Go ahead, Sandog. Yeah.
No, so, you know, again, like I said, coming back to it, right? And even, like I said, even in the abstract, right? You know, basically what I want to tell men is that you are ultimately the change that you want. How you manage yourself, how you take care of yourself, and how you function will actually allow you to terraform the world around you. I can tell you firsthand that if you lead a clean and disciplined life, there are a lot of people that won't even be able to be in your presence. They would remove themselves. Like I said, they would remove themselves from your presence because either, you know, some way, somehow they'll feel that they're unworthy or that you're not their type of people. Because this is what I've heard, you know, from women, you know, along the way, like I said, along the way in my lifetime, right? So again, you being the change that you want, because again, at the end of the day, I'll be the first to tell you, Sandog loves hoes, right? But at the end of the day, hoes don't make themselves, right? They, they they need, like I said, they need willing participants, right? And so there are certain vices and things as men that we would have to refrain from engaging in, right, in order to step by step become the change that we want. So this is, so that's what I was saying, is that in a sense, even with yourself, you can't be egalitarian, right? So, Sandor wakes up. So now, what is it? This is 3:06 in the morning, right? So when I'm not on the line with Gigi, let me type this in, right? So Fajr, my prayer time is at 3:56 a.m., right? So that is a non-negotiable. Do you think, how many of you think that Sando wants to get up at 3:56 a.m.? Right?
Yeah,
How many,
I know you don't want to get up at
you know
3:56
what I'm saying?
a.m.
How many of you want to think? So my Fajr, which is the dawn prayer, is that 3:56 a.m. Dhuhr, right? Dhuhr and Asr, these are the afternoon prayers. Dhuhr is high noon, right? Which today being Juma is at 12:16. Asr is at 3:40. That's when I'm at the busiest time of my day. Do you think that I want to stop? Right? And then my day ends. So 7:05 p.m. is the evening prayer, which is Maghrib. And then 8:35, right, is the Isha prayer. But by Isha, I'm already fat and full with a big belly in the house. And, I don't, and there are times that I don't want to get up and pray. Have you noticed that everything that makes you successful, and you could say material success and all this stuff, but let's just start with well-being in your health. Everything that makes you successful in that regard all surrounds a whole bunch of shit that you don't want to do. Right?
Well, to me, yeah, I get it, man. Look, after a certain period of time, though, you get comfortable with. After a certain period of time, you look forward to working out and the pain that's associated with working out. I mean, but it does take time for you to get acclimated to that. But having said that, I get the point. I mean, the point is that people miss out on opportunity because it's disguised as hard work. It just is what it is. Opportunity is lost to people because it's clothed in the garb of hard work. And so they don't want to do that hard work, and so they don't get that opportunity.
Yeah.
But I mean, one of the things that's backwards about this culture, though, I think, is that this culture thinks that like comfort and leisure is the goal. Like that's the end for which everything you do is directed. Like, how is it possible that you can actually be motivated to do anything substantive if the end goal is to just do nothing but live like a luxurious, leisurely, comfortable lifestyle? I'm not saying it like all successful people think this way, but I'm saying it especially people who are like members of the middle class or lower middle class. They think that that's the objective, to be comfortable.
No. So this is, again, like, that's what I'm trying to say. So my desire, so like, again, my dad is older, right? And so for my family, right, I am the patriarch, of my family now, right? My dad has passed me, my father has passed me that baton, right? So the same thing, like, when my mother-in-law visited me, and I told her, and I told my father-in-law, hey, when the time comes, my door is open, right? So there's my wife and her mom and dad, if it will be, and then there's me with my parents, and all that stuff, and everything else, right? And so this is again, this is all levels of responsibility, right? So when you hear people say, destroy, destroy the patriarchy, you're talking about if you remove the state, the only institution that's there to protect you is family.
Yeah.
Right. So this is your police force, this is your medical care, this is your opportunity, this is where it comes from. So in this part of the world, especially your network for the most part starts with your family, just like what you said, right? So in America, right, there are bridges falling underneath people, right? Because people in City Hall or whatever are arguing about who should get the contract, how you should go about it, and everything else. Here, if we need a new bridge or if we need more highway, right, you'll wake up and open the Khalid Times. Sheikh Mohammed has just approved, right? King Nayan has just approved. Sheikh Moala has just approved. Man, there is no lollygagging and you'll say and all of that stuff here. So like when they were building the railroad here, man, you went to bed one day and you woke up the next and it was like, yo, this is it. Like same thing during COVID, man. You didn't have people here running around talking about that's my right. Matter of fact, we had an influencer who did that here, man. They fined her $1 million dirham.
Hold on, for saying that she wouldn't take the vaccine?
No, this is for COVID. Like, so this is the mask part of COVID,
okay.
Right? The earlier part is just a hoax or whatever, just all of that other stuff. Fam, she got fined $1 million dirham, which is like $360,000 and thrown in jail, right? Her endorsements and everything taken from her. And we would, on my phone, right, when the curfew hit, like maybe 6 p.m. or whatever it was at that time, right, they're like, AK, you got an hour. It'll come in on your SMS and everything else, because what they would do here is that the police and the fire department, all the civil service will come out and they would be on the streets and they would fumigate the highways and the roads in the cities, right, at night. So that's why you had to. That's
Get your
why,
ass in the house, yeah.
That's why you had to. That's why you had to be on the road, right? And you got videos of people clapping and cheering, all the civil defense people, or whatever, from their apartments and their homes or whatever. But here, when you get told to move, fam, you move, right? and for me, I don't feel like personally, like honest to God, right? I don't feel any loss of freedom, and I don't have my rights. And I'm very happy here. Very, like I said again, very happy here, and I don't have like those concerns. Like again, when I take my daughter to preschool or whatever the case might be, I'm not worrying about it. Being shot up and all of this stuff and everything else, right? And it's just so it's not that the American system doesn't work. It's that the values of the American people, in a sense, have become irresponsible. And like I said, it's this very kind of weird concept of. It's this very weird kind of concept of freedom, and God forgive me for saying it, but the kind of government that America has, like unless you're like Aristotle or like or like a prophet of God or something like that, most people are too irresponsible to manage that type of freedom.
Yeah, I think, look, man, freedom is, one can argue negative liberty, it makes possible other forms of freedom. But like just being able to do whatever you want to do by itself, in and of itself, is not like the end of what freedom is anyway. That's not the objective of freedom. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I mean, because there are other things or aspects of living a wanton life that will lead you to, not actually be free. You can become a slave to your passions, okay? Whether those be physical or emotional passions. You can become a slave to vices. That's what, so the very idea that, freedom just entails you being able to do whatever it is you want, that's not freedom, man. Not to me. Yeah. In the end, I think freedom I can't say it reduces to this, but I think that, in one sense, being able to set a goal and working your way towards accomplishing that goal and being satisfied for having done so, I think that's really what freedom is. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Setting yourself, establishing objectives and goals, and being able to go out and accomplish those goals, that would be what freedom adheres in to me. And having a sense of well-being related to, goal setting and setting goals that actually, are substantive and that are noble as opposed to some bullshit.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So like even for me, right, one of the because if this is 2000, right, again, Sandog is getting ready to vote for John McCain, and then, George Bush, ends up beating McCain for the Republican nomination. And George Bush said one line that got me to vote for him, right? Because it is, and I'm using this to get your point. He said, I want to be so this is before 9/11. He said, I want to be the science president, right? During my presidency, I want to be able to put a man on Mars, right? So now, in order for you to achieve that, that is something that will give your nation, especially in the early part of the 21st century, and people's optimism about the future and what the future could be. That is an excellent start of, giving your nation, your people a sense of purpose, right? Because there will be so much both governmental and private sector effort that will go into the feat of sending a person to Mars and bringing them back, right? So this kind of development or this goal, in a sense, now becomes your national identity, which brings people together, right? Under, like I said, under a sense of purpose. But and this is the thing. And so what people don't understand is that human beings, women, children, right, even your dogs, everybody craves structure. So when you hear people say, because what people don't understand and why egalitarianism doesn't work is this, right? If you want to be protected from a circumstance, be it man or woman, right? So I'm a man, I'm upset this chick got me in family court, right? I'm a black woman and I'm saying I'm the most unprotected individual in the United States. And my question would be to all those people is, to what authority do you obey, right? Because quintessential to protection is obedience.
Yeah, right? yeah. That's a fact. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
So if you,
these women but these women don't want protection. These just all this shit about protection to me is just absurd, man. I don't know what it actually really is all about.
Yeah, but like I said, even for us men, right? Again, right? God's mercy, right? But Sandog to the best of his ability, right? Because I like Sharkeisha and Tay Tay and them, right? But to the best of his ability, right? Sandog avoided those circumstances, right? And I've never been in family court, right? Because, again, right, understanding the type of people that you need to deal with. Like, I'll tell you guys a story. When I was, think this my sophomore year, there was a girl, she was fine. You know what I'm saying? Fine. You know what I'm saying? Evasive angels, fine. And she said, I liked you from freshman year. And to make a long story, right, she was bringing me over to beat them cakes. Now, here was the problem. I don't drive. I don't have a car. Alabama is not the place that's conducive to walking, right? So if I go to her place, it's nothing but me, her place, and the highway. Now, on top of all of that, her boyfriend at the time was a dope boy, right? And allegedly, he was locked up. Allegedly, right? And I'm being invited to their place of residence
That's
to.
some bullshit. Like, I can't, man. That's some bullshit, right? Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Yeah.
So, but how many dudes would go?
Yeah. You know, yeah, that's some bullshit right there. My
We
boyfriend
all
locked up.
That's what I'm trying
Yeah.
to say. So we all know how many ways that could turn out, right? We all know how many ways that could turn out. But but what I'm presenting is the fact that a lot of guys, that's what I'm trying to say, a lot of guys would have gone, right? And so and, and so this is what I'm talking about in terms of being the change, because you can't even be egalitarian with yourself if you want certain levels of success,
Yeah. I
right?
mean, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah. A diet, you gotta stick to it, man. So, you know, sometimes, right? Sandog wants that, that BLT for breakfast with the cheese and everything, coming off of it, right? But my goal is to goddamn be master splinter, right? By the what? God willing, I'm 46 now. So by the time I'm 50, my goal is to be master splinter, right? Y'all gonna come to the park and I'm gonna be that old dude hanging off the bar with one hand while my neck is touching while my neck is touching the bottom of my feet, like you see in those videos, right? That's what my goal is, right? So if that's my goal, then there are things that I have to be uncompromising about, right? And so, again, you do work together with your family or your co-workers or this, but there's a core, you should have a core set of values, right? That you don't compromise with, that you don't play with. There is no, like I said, there is no bend and break. And I guarantee you, if you have that within yourself, that you're not egalitarian about certain things. Like Jesus said, right? Seek first the kingdom of heaven, and all these other things shall be added unto you. I promise you, if you function this way, there will be, by sheer nature of functioning that way, there'll be certain relationships that you can't have anyway. Right? There are certain types of evils that will flee from you. You'll say that will flee from you, that will flee from you anyway, right? So that's all I'm trying to say, guys, is that, even the whole concept of, one day the lion will lay with the lamb. No, it's not some pie in the sky stuff. The lion laying with the lamb, at least the sandal basically means your ability to live in peace is tied to your ability to wage war and kick somebody's ass, right? So there's a reason why outside of 9/11 or Pearl Harbor, Americans don't know what it's like to be bombed and shot up. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because again, you're separated from the rest of the world by two oceans, and you got a military and ultimately, a military, a navy, and the air force that no one wants any parts of. Right? So the fact that people know that America could lay hands despite Afghanistan and Iraq or whatever, nobody wants that smoke. Nobody wants to smoke that pack of cigarettes. So the peace that you enjoy in America comes from the fact that you could wage war. So the reason why people are tap dancing all over Africa, because guess what? The African, they don't have a strong military or a navy or a magic button that they could press that'll fucking melt your face off your skeleton, right? So if you look at Pakistan, for all the stuff that India or America or anybody may talk about Pakistan, Pakistan has a navy, an air force. As a matter of fact, what I could tell you about Pakistan, the one thing that does work in that society to perfection is its military. And oh, by the way, Pakistan is a nuclear power, right? So have you noticed that? Have you noticed that when America comes on TV, there are certain nations, all we can do is get up there and grandstand and talk shit. You ain't going over there.
Yeah.
And why you're not going over there? Because even though America could probably easily defeat all of these nations, Guess what? Guess what? Pakistan could still bloody your nose.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Iran, Russia could still bloody your nose, right? So, hey, you might go back and forth with a whole bunch of soft war bullshit, or whatever, but you ain't coming over here with that fucking smoke. Right? So when the lion and the lamb are laying together, you have to understand that your ability to have peace is predicated upon your ability to fuck somebody up.
Yeah. I feel that, man.
You know what I'm saying? So Mike Tyson could run around in the field with Care Bears stare you to death, and everything else. Why? Because nobody is going to smoke that Mike Tyson pack, even in his 50s.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? George Foreman, I don't know how old he is, but I wouldn't want a piece of George Foreman. Right?
No, so, you ain't fucking with George Foreman. He'll knock your ass out.
George
70
Foreman,
years old, he'll knock your fucking ass out.
George Foreman now could punch the flesh off my damn skeleton, right? You know what I'm saying? And again, so George Foreman could be that lion that runs in the land, right? With the rainbows and the Care Bears and shit, because of his capacity to control force or wage war. And so, again, and also another thing to your point, that a lack of egalitarianism, what egalitarianism does take away is, here's the thing, and let me say this: egalitarianism, if misused the way that it's been misused in Black America, right? What egalitarianism does take away is unity of effort and unity of command. You can't, like you said, you can't accomplish shit. Right? Again, there's no leader. Everybody wants to go in a completely different direction, right? You're talking about you want to take a stand against institutional racism, and institutional racism is a football team, but we're showing up in soccer outfits because we want to.
Hey man, that's the nature of the beast right now. You can't really control shit, man. I mean, unfortunately, the other piece to this that's missing though is, if you got authority, you have the ability to punish. Okay.
Yes.
Unfortunately, without the ability to punish, you really actually aren't a leader. I mean, it might sound fucked up, but if you can't punish a motherfucker, you're not in control.
Facts, because
and you can't punish. I'm not talking about shaming a motherfucker.
No.
I'm talking about. I'm just because there's a whole bunch of bullshit going on out here right now. Shame, blame, explain, and all of this kind of shit. This is not about shaming a motherfucker, making somebody feel bad, with words or trying to, get somebody to like feel bad in terms of like, like an emotional effacing that you do, a public effacement or something like that. I'm talking about like, because shame is a part of punishment. Let's not get it twisted. But it's different. Like if the only punishment that you can issue is shame, as opposed to other more stringent forms of sanctions. You know what I'm saying? Like if you do what the people in the United States say you ain't supposed to do in terms of the law, they can send you to jail. They can fine you and, take away certain rights and privileges that every other citizen has.
Yes.
If you can't do that, how the fuck, like, how can you be in control? This is the thing I've been talking about, trying to get guys to see. And to some degree, even you, there is the moral authority of, being an exemplar of what it is that you want to see yourself. But also, something has to be said about the fact that there is, like, this country is in chaos, man. It's in flux. Everything is just up for grabs right now. Like, there is no center. Like, one of the ways that you know that there's no center is when people start saying shit like, trans women are real women. That's when you know that there's no center here, bro. Like, I'm just keeping it a buck, man. And I'm not even trying to hate those people. Okay? Or like, you know, a trans, you know, man is a real man, right?
Yeah.
That shit right there is like, you know that things are just everywhere. It's like everything is topsy-turvy, bro. I'm just keeping it a buck, man. Like, and then not only that, bro, look. If, like, say, for example, even in the context of something like Omega Psi Phi, right? Like, let's say, for example, I'm pledging motherfuckers and I'm the DP. I'm basically looking in after and ensuring how much heat these boys get if they pledge, right?
Correct.
I'm in charge of their educational program. I'm in charge of determining, you know, like how much discipline they receive, who can administer the discipline, whatever the case may be, right?
Yes.
If I'm the DP. But like, what happens if like anybody could just come in the motherfucker and do anything to the boys or whatever the case may be? Or that like they can just do what the fuck they want and there's no consequences or repercussions for anything that they do. There is no order in this motherfucker. It's just anybody doing anything they want to do, dog.
Correct.
And like, I just, people, the only thing, one can argue, okay, well, you can't shame women back to the table. No, you really can't. But like at the end of the day, because they have institutional power, you used to be able to shame motherfuckers into a lot of shit. Like, you know, being pregnant before you was married, like in, you know, like 60, 70 years ago, that's a big no-go. Now it's like, shit, get a girl give her some gifts and shit. You know what I'm saying? Let's throw a party for her. But that's a difference in, you know, it's a difference, you know what I'm saying? So, but it's not one person's job to shame anybody. It's a community's job to keep, you know, like a certain standard or a certain level of ethics.
Correct. But
you know, it's up for a community to do that. One person can't do that.
Yeah, but again, you're not going to have a community if people are operating on negative freedom, negative liberty, right? You're not going to. It becomes impossible. Like, you know, like I was talking to one of my people, and they got upset with me because, you know, I was showing them that, you know, the top performers economically in America come from cultures that demand certain levels of conformity. They don't operate on rugged individualism the way Americans do, right? And so, yeah, you know, institutional racism and all of those things exist, but at the end of the day, one of the things that gives institutional racism its power is that you are disorganized and scattered to the winds. Right.
Yeah, that definitely. I mean, that definitely does. You know, it does.
Because I'll tell you this, because even in warfare, that's what we like. Did you know we like to fight 3-1 odds, right? So there are 4 tanks in the platoon, right? So your old tank company could have 12 tanks and 9 tanks, right? And so now, if you're fighting the Russians that have, I think, a 3-tank platoon or something like that, right? So now the idea is that one company or one troop of American tanks, right? Again, just like animals out in the field, right? We want to separate you from the herd and we want to pounce on you, right? So I want to take my 9 or 12 tanks against your 3 or 4 and pounce on you, right? That's the whole, that's the whole thing of it, right? That's how, what did Jesus tell Simon Peter, peace be upon him? The devil wants to sift you like wheat. So at the end of the day, fam, when you're separated from the herd is your protection from predators, right? And so, so just like that video I sent you, you know, we're African, nah, we're Israelites, nah, we're Muslims, no, we're this or we're that. So the fact that you're scattered to the 4 winds, right? You have no real identity, no real co-joining moral value system, which would facilitate a political value system. You don't have any of that. So again, at the end of the day, the slave codes are 1705 for the win, right? That's pretty much what it is, right? So if you were to have some type of value system, right? Then, in a sense, you can come and and push back, against what I'm saying, against any system. So again, this is where the misuse of egalitarianism, again, it comes back. It comes back to bite you in the ass because everybody is doing their own thing, and you cannot have a community with it. So, like, even for me, when I wanted to marry my wife, man, like in the States, right, you guys can go, hey, I'm in love, whether the parents like it or don't like it, you're getting married. If my father-in-law said no, guess what? I'll be sitting here right now, lonely, lone,
Yeah,
lone
yeah.
to marry my wife. Man, I have to go and give gifts, like because in Nigerian culture, man, when you go to the family, man, you're gonna go give gifts. You'll pay a dowry, and you have to prostrate yourself in front of your in-laws to ask for the hand in marriage, right? And then those societies also do a better job in the sense of vetting, right? Because that's what my father-in-law told me. He said, "Hey, you're not just marrying my daughter; you're marrying the family."
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So it's a completely, so like I said again, like I said, it's a completely different thing. And so at the end of the day, if especially for people in the States, or and I wish I could talk to our women in mass, if your only goal or desire from a partner is just lifestyle, that's something that you can give yourself.
Well,
Right?
man, look, bruh, look. All I can say is, man, look, man, it's Sodom and Gomorrah for this shit, bro. I'm just keeping it a buck, man. Like motherfuckers got to understand what it is, man. Like there's no return. Like this is at a point of no return. I just honestly believe. I know it sounds, fatalistic or pessimistic or whatever the case may be. I just think that it's too far gone, man. You got a group of people who are lazy, who are superficial, who've been corrupted to the core. Like what? How do you change that? I mean, outside of the context of leadership, which you're talking about, but like a leadership, again, in order to be an effective leader, you have to have the ability to issue sanctions. You have to have the ability to punish people.
Yeah, correct. You have to punish.
Like when you're in the military, if one of your troops, just basically defied your authority, he could be sent to the brig.
Fair.
You understand what I'm saying? So like, I mean,
extra duty, 1 month without pay, and a strip of rank. You could do a whole bunch. Yeah.
I don't understand how you can fix it. Like if you got an idea about how you can fix this shit, please explain to me how you can tell people who can't be told what to do. And in a neoliberal culture that is predicated upon negative liberty, and you can't tell them shit, and now you got men who think that they're women, how the fuck you gonna tell anybody anything, bro? How?
No. Well,
who can you tell what to fucking do in this culture? Who?
Yeah. Well, you got to let it burn out. You're in a period of decadence, right?
Who can you tell? Who can you make do some shit? You can't make your wife do shit.
Nobody.
If you do something to your children that your child thinks is excessive, she can go talk to the state and have the state intervene on your relationship with your child.
It's true.
So what, like, I mean, what are you talking about? Like, I mean, turn it around. Like, turn what around? I don't give a fuck if it's a dose. I don't give a fuck if you extend it to all other kinds of identifications. It doesn't make it doesn't make sense. How can you not make your wife and kids do something? You can't force in this country. It's damn near impossible to force your wife to do shit. What you gonna force her to do? Wash the dishes? You better wash the dishes. What if she say no? What you gonna do? Break the belt out?
Oh.
What the fuck are you gonna do? mean, you know, like authority is one can argue, like you said before, like there are times or places in which authority will be kind of natural, but you can't make somebody do some shit. You can't make them up, not in this country. I would like this. I would like for somebody to explain to me how you can make your wife or your child, like, I mean, make them, like, force them to do some shit if they say they ain't gonna do it. I'm just saying, like, there is something. Look it up, man. Hellenized Jews. Look that shit up. Look it up. And that's the point be about peace and pleasure. Motherfuckers ain't got game, man. All that game shit, like you gotta have game, you gotta be persuasive. That's fucking trying to trick a motherfucker into doing some shit. You tricking a motherfucker into, you know, like listening to what you gotta say. If you gotta use game to be in authority and to persuade a motherfucker, you're not really in authority. You're not in a position of authority.
Correct.
If you gotta use game to get somebody to do some shit you want, that exactly, that's manipulation. That's not authority. That's, you know, like a real, like, thin, you know, kind of level of manipulation. So I don't know, man. I just don't. I personally have never wanted to be able to just dictate shit to anybody, but at the same time, like, come on, man. Like, there'll be times, like, if there's something that a chick knows that I don't know, I will defer to what she knows because in this area or domain of life, she knows more about it than I do. Yeah. But if I know more, if I'm in a club and I say it's time for us to go, and she's like, well, I'm not ready to leave yet, and I'm saying it's time to go because of some shit don't look right, and the bitch just being obstinate and don't want to go, guess what? You know what? Fuck it then. You can stay in this bitch and get shot up if you want to. Fuck it. But then you don't say I ain't protect you.
And divorce her in the hospital while she recovering. That's exactly what you would do.
I just leave them. I said, let's go. You want to stay in this motherfucker? Now, if it's a shorty, a kid, I'll probably yank him up. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not about to yank no chick, man, to protect her, man. If she want to get a motherfucking head blown out, that's on her. Yep. Sorry. I'm not in the business of manipulation either. I ain't got time to be dedicating my effort and my energy into trying to manipulate a bitch to do anything. Fuck all that. I ain't got time for that. If she gonna do it with me, she gonna do it of her own free will and volition. I'm not gonna try to convince nobody to do a goddamn thing. That's just how I see it. You know what I'm saying? That's just my perspective on life. I'm not walking around trying to persuade various motherfuckers to do shit that I'm on. That's why very rarely will you see me constantly trying to get motherfuckers to do one thing or another. Oh, let's go this way. Let's go that way. Dude, if you want to do something, man, different than what the fuck I'm doing, go ahead and do it, bro. That's why I think men got like this issue, you know what I'm saying? Like they want to be leaders, but, you know, they really don't have the authority to be leaders. You know what I'm saying? Especially in a space like the manosphere, bro.
I'm going to say something like this, and I'll be very honest with you, man. For a lot of what makes a good leader in African American and male culture, this is something that's seen as ruthless, right? So you've been groomed in a way that a lot of what makes a good leader is viewed as evil in your eyes. And that, because remember, this is where all the red pill rage and everything comes from, right? Because, you know, you're discovering at whatever age that you're discovering that you did not need permission to act out your nature or how nature deems that you should function, right? So a lot of, like I said, again, a lot of what makes a good leader, especially especially if it's coming from a man in Black America, is deemed as callous or evil.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? Especially if it's coming from a man. So, and that's, and sad and most unfortunately, that's even from men to each other, right? So, like, I was talking to one of my homeboys that I went to school with, and I said, in some other dimension, where Sandong was born a woman and I look like Claire Huxtable, I led you niggas to freedom decades ago. Right? But unfortunately, I look like the love child of Shaq and Lawrence Taylor, right? And so it's it's difficult. So like I remember I was talking to my homeboys, right? He's a teacher, I'm a logistician. So I'm talking about trade and customs clearances and all of this other stuff, right? And he said, well, let me play devil's advocate. And I was like, for what? And so I go back to him and I'm like, fam, you're an educator. I know nothing about education as a skill set, as a profession, and as a business. I said, have you noticed that whenever I ask you anything about education as a skill set, a profession, or a business, whatever you tell me, I don't push back on because I don't know anything about it. You are the expert, which is why I defer to you. So why is it when I talk, you have to play devil's advocate? And you know what his response to me was? Because you talk in a so matter-of-fact way about everything. And I said, so how is a proven professional in everything that I've done in my life, how am I supposed to talk? Am I supposed to be humble? How am I supposed to talk? Right? Which is why my response to him was, if I look like Claire Huxtable, right, I could have led us to victory years ago, right? Because somewhere within us, right, it's very difficult. Maybe because again, it's like I said, we were all slaves, and we have yet to fight a civil war to decide the pecking order. And perhaps it's hard for one slave to take direction from another slave unless he slits his throat and says, "I'm king."
Well, you know, well, I mean, there have been leaders in the Black America in the past. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, there have been like there are instances of leadership in the Black community, but it just seems like everybody's just going their own separate ways. Now, I think identity politics killed the Black community. Just is what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's my position is that identity politics created a sense of a lack of cohesion. Like if people feel like there's a collective effort being made and that they can play their part and that there's somebody who's impactful and effective as a leader, they'll go along with it. Okay. But if it seems like nothing is actually going to be done and it's just a whole bunch of banter being put out there, people will do what the fuck they want to do. It's like it's useless. It's pointless to follow anyway. So I may as well just do what I'm told to do by television or, corporations or whatever the case may be. It's just like, I don't know, man. Like all I can say is this, man. Authority for men in the United States, man, I can't speak on your job. Your job might be different, okay? You might be the boss at your job, okay? If I'm in a classroom, it's not a democracy, man. I'm at the helm of the class. I'm the one setting the agenda. I'm the one determining when tests are being taken. I'm the final arbiter of what grades you get predicated on your performance. I'm the person who's developing the lessons plans and determining what it is you're supposed to be learning. If it's like, say, for example, I'm on a job site. If I'm on a job site and like I'm an iron worker, right? And I'm going to do a show tomorrow about building because I'm tired of hearing motherfuckers asking for me to build shit. You know what I'm saying? Like build this, build that. I'm going to have a conversation about that. But I mean, ultimately, if I'm on a job site, there is a hierarchy there. There's a foreman on that motherfucker. There's somebody who's running the work. You know what I'm saying? Like in crews and shit like that. It ain't just a free-for-all, everybody able to do what the fuck they want to do out on a construction site. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, so you got a superintendent, you got a foreman, you got a steward. It's all kind of people out there who are determining what ought to be done. Okay, it's not just a haphazard kind of function, you know, like or a haphazard kind of process taking place. And then you got different people who have different kinds of you know, authority related to like how far along they are, and you know, like they are in the process of education related to a trade. So you got apprentices out there. So you got first year, second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year apprentices out there and shit like that. So it's not just a free for all. So if somebody tells me what to do, if like I can even be a journeyman and somebody who ran work at another job, but like I just got a ticket from the hall to go to location A or something like that, and I go there, I'm not the person running work there. I got to listen and defer to the authority of the foreman on the job. I mean, you know, that's just the pecking order. But when it comes to social relationships and political kinds of relationships amongst, you know, people who are whatever you want to call them, I mean, you know, ADOS, B1, FBA, whatever, it's a free-for-all, man. It is what it is, man. It's just a free-for-all, man. So
yeah, but that's again, and that's what I'm trying to say again. Islam took Arabia from scattered tribes and united them into a, you know what I'm saying, into, you know, several, like I said, several different empires, right? Christianity took Western Europe and, you know, especially out of the United Kingdom, which is a great feat, especially for Ireland, as small as they are, to produce the world's first global empire. Like it's, you know, these are, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like, you know, again, the, you know, the actions that happen, you know, in between or whatever, that's one thing. But again, these things are great accomplishments, man. And it did not happen. It did not happen through egalitarianism, right? So it's, you know, again, and it's like you said, things, and this is, and you and I are correct in terms of understanding leadership. Again, if my wife has a PhD in finance from damn Wharton and a you know, a master's from Harvard, you know, and an undergrad from Carnegie Mellon, right? And and you know, she was the, you know, she's a CPA and now she's the CEO of, you know, Ernst and Young's, you know, America branch or whatever. You damn right I'm gonna listen to her when it comes to finances, right? And how to and like I said, and how to manage the house. As a matter of fact, that's the dynamic between me and my wife now. Because again, I deal with so much administration and money and all that stuff for work. I don't want to deal with it. I really don't, right? And so the administration of my home and all that stuff and everything else. So okay, we want to say, so you know, we'll have the conversation. I want to save this way. I want to invest this way. I'll talk to this guy. It's that account. It's this, that, or whatever. You know, all of that happens for like the day to day of it. You know, and you know, we'll sit down and talk and we'll track where we are and everything else. But shout out to my old lady, man. The day to day of it, she makes it work, right? And I'm happy because again, one, it's something that she's better at, and two, I don't want to do it.
for sure. Like I mean, hey
Right.
man, look, if anybody got any questions, you know, want to make any comments, man, now's the time. Otherwise, you know,
Yeah.
kick rocks. Speak now,
Yeah.
forever hold your peace. You know, I wish that there was more unity, you know, amongst people who are black, but you know, it just doesn't exist. There's not a lot of leadership out there, and like people who want to lead, who are stepping up to actually lead, don't have the qualifications to actually be good leaders. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, you see it, you've seen it. Like the BLM chicks stepped up to lead. Like what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
They cashed out. Not to say that there aren't any black lesbian women who could lead, but like they just weren't like the move. They usurped the organic movement that was happening on the ground, and then they cashed out.
Ain't that a bitch?
You know what I'm saying? Not to say that they couldn't have, you know, like there's no lesbian black woman anywhere who's who's not fit to lead, but they weren't. And look, Raw's perspective, Ray, man, bro, your ethnicity alone is not going to bring unity to people, man.
Right.
Like, I mean, you have to have a unifying ethos that brings people together, or a set of habits and practices that have them behave in a specific kind of way. We have no rituals. What rituals do black people have, man, that are unique to them ethnically? We wouldn't even know what they are because there are none. What ethnic rituals from birth to death are uniform for African Americans or people of African descent who are, you know, American descendants of slavery? Which one? What are they? And what's the moral or ethical significance of anything? It may, like, I'm just saying, bro, you're not making any sense. It makes no sense. Just acknowledging that I'm an ethnic group doesn't mean that, like, there's unity related to it. We already have, like, an understanding that we're, like, a specific demographic group, but, like, there's no agreement on anything else beyond that. What is their agreement about? What's the unifying culture, Ray? What is it? Define it for me so I can see exactly what it is. I would like for you to assert what it is. What's the unifying theme, the thread that runs concurrent through all of black culture in terms of rituals, in terms of a moral code, in terms of a spiritual based system? What is it? Do you know what I'm saying, dog? I mean, I would like to see what it is. Like, let's say, for example, I'm a member of Omega Psi Phi. So I know that wherever I go in this country, there's going to be a ritual that if you are a legitimate member of the fraternity, you're going to have gone through that ritual.
Correct.
You're going to have gone through that ritual. There's a set of poems, there's a set of songs, there's a set of principles that everybody who's in the fraternity knows. And there's an ethos related to those principles and those ideas. Every person that I go to and talk to in the fraternity ought to know
Correct.
a certain set of things. And then I know by having talked to him or had a discussion with him whether he's legit or not related to those principles. There's nothing removing it. And we're not talking about dysfunction. Like that we all beat, like people beating up their kids, that's not a ritual. And not everybody beats their kids, by the way, that's black either. I mean, although we do it excessively, but it's not the case that everybody does it. So there's no unifying idea, nothing. I mean, we have an understanding of, we all know the same church songs. Church songs are not rituals.
Correct.
Church songs are not rituals. I mean, not everybody's in the church. How many black people even go to fucking church? Now, when's the last time you been to church outside of the mosque, Sandog?
The 30 years, almost 20 something years, 25, 22 years, something like that.
And I didn't even look. I never like. I've been to a church, but like I don't like. I'm not a member of any AME Baptist. None of that. I'm not into any of that. I ain't even go to like church as a kid at all. None. Zero. So there's no unifying thread. All I'm saying is there's nothing that ties Americans together other than the flag, for real, and a whole bunch of loosely can join rituals loosely.
NFL Sundays.
But not everybody's into that either. I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't any rituals at all, but like common ones that everybody buys into in this country, man. Come on. Hold on, man. This is too much. Again, like saying that going to church is what we had, that's not saying very much, man. Because is it like, let's be frank about this, right? The Christian church in America, or Protestant faith, or whatever the Protestant faith, or even the Catholic faith, that's some European shit, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's some white boy shit, isn't it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that like some white boy shit that we adopted as our own is a replacement for having something that unifies us together uniquely. I just didn't know. I'm just keeping it real.
But that's what I'm trying to say. No, again, just reinforcing what you and I have been saying. There's no unifying value system that facilitates unity of effort, unity of command. And that's, again, right, this is what I was saying. So
who's the chief? If there's a unifying culture and a hierarchical structure in the black community, who runs it? Who's the boss? Who's the boss? If there's like everybody knows that like the rabbi is the boss.
Yes.
Who's the boss of the black community? Who are some of the bosses? Thugs and shit, niggas like rappers and shit. Come on, man. Come on, man. What the NFL, the cats in the NBA? Who's the boss? Who are the leaders? Piece of mama said mama, man. So like say for example, I was to say pre-colonial Dahomey, there would be an infrastructure there, a hierarchy there, and everybody would know exactly what it is. Everybody would know what it is.
Facts. Look.
I'm just saying, like, come on, man. He said there's a quasi black American council in nearly every major city. Bro, man, get the fuck out of here, man. You a troll, dog. You on some troll shit, man. Ain't no niggas doing shit in America, dog. Let's face it, bro. Let's keep it a buck, man. Let's keep it real, man. What role do you play in any organizing structure your motherfucking self? What do you do? What control do you have? What import do you have over anybody else's life that keeps anybody in check from doing any fucking thing? You know why? I'm gonna tell you why. Because most niggas, let's face it, bro, I'm about to get pissed off. Because you know what niggas do in this country when they got a problem with other niggas? You know what they do? What do they do? Especially niggas in this space, because most of the niggas in this space, let's face it, bro. Most niggas in this space are lambda motherfuckers, bro. Lambs. I'm just gonna keep it a buck, man. Lambs, nigga. Niggas that wasn't fucking, niggas that wasn't cool in high school or college, ain't really got a social life for real, with no niggas outside of the context of the internet. Let's just be real about the shit. What do niggas do if they got problems, bro? 9 times out of 10, especially niggas in this space, they not gonna fucking handle it themselves. If a nigga in the hood is playing this radio loud as a motherfucker at 2 in the morning, you gonna take your nigga ass out there and tell that motherfucker to turn it down, or you gonna do what?
Call the cops.
You gonna call the fucking police. Straight up. That's how you know. You gonna call the goddamn police, which is a team of white boys, to come do it for you. Let's keep it real, man. Niggas talking about they want leadership. You can't even lead your own shit. All we gotta do is acknowledge that we're X. That shit ain't gonna make nothing happen, bruh. Fuck out of here, man. Niggas selling rocks on the block, you gonna tell them you can't sell here no more. You doing that? Oh man, you in New York? Oh man, hey man, we shutting the block down. Nobody selling dope right here. Nobody selling dope here. You doing that in New York? I know you lying. You a fucking lying, nigga. In New York? What part of New York? You telling niggas turn their radio down?
No way.
I know you lying. In Cali, nigga, you wasn't around the Bloods or the Crips doing no shit like that. I know that. They don't sell drugs in New York. Man, dude, you lying like a motherfucker, nigga. They don't sell drugs in New York. Man, get the fuck out of here, man. Look, man, you banned, man. I'm banning that nigga, man. You full of shit, bro. I'm banning that nigga, man. Fuck out of here, man. They don't sell dope in New York City. Man, these tri-lam ass niggas, man. Who the fuck are these dudes, man? Niggas ain't got no status. Like, look, if a motherfucker was to say to me, and I'm just being honest about this, bro. Look. Yeah. Niggas got no status in the real world, but they want to be leaders and shit. Niggas act like they want to be leaders and shit. What you leading? You can't even lead yourself to the gym. Half of you motherfuckers. But you want to lead and shit. You want to be the king. You want and look, recently, like all I'm hearing now is a whole bunch of alpha talk from a bunch of fucking tri-lambs, dog. And everybody know what tri-lambs is. Revenge of the nerds type shit.
I'll tell you this.
Come on, man. Go ahead, Sam.
You know what I'm saying? Again, you know, I'll tell you this, right? In my remarks, right? And this is the dangers of the overuse of egalitarianism, like I said, in our community. And so, again, for men, in terms of us demanding what we want externally, there has to be a revolution within yourself first, right? So you have to beat yourself first, which comes in the form of your character, your health, you know, appearance, manners, you know, and everything else. And then and then from there, your world becomes or can become or will become a much like I said, a much bigger place. So it goes back to what I said. Again, shout out to institutional racism. It exists, but it works damn well when you don't have a family, right? So the school to prison pipeline, hey, little Timmy can't read, you know, he's gonna go and he's gonna go to prison, right? So it's something, right? So again, so by removing the father from the home in the workplace, you've also changed the factors of production, right? So you know, the corporation is now, you know, in the factors of production, right? Probably under what we would now call, you know, land, like I said, land and capital. And all I'm asking you guys is, like I said, is to be careful, take time in life to figure shit out. And it is not a sin to put yourself first. My father taught me the greatest law in nature is self-preservation. So it's not a sin it's not a sin to go out here, again, at times, and put yourself first, because you're not gonna, uh, again, a lot of these people that are behind you hollering about this, that, and the third, or whatever the case might be, they're not going with you, through that process, for change, for growth and development. So how Dr. Tiosan says it, call it unapologetically, masculine. Hey, go forth and do great things. And again, I'm not talking about egalitarianism in the sense of just women, right? And life. So this is not some EWA thing or some cheat code, that's gonna help you get the girls or understand them. This shit is for you. And like I said, not even to be egalitarian with yourself.
Yeah, I mean, basically what you're saying is set some standards for yourself and create some discipline. Create structure for yourself. To even have a chance of being structure for somebody else.
Correct.
Like why would somebody be even inclined to, structure, have operate under your structure when you ain't even got your own shit together?
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? And then not only that, I mean, I think the whole idea is that, like, look, if somebody is in a leadership position, that's the leader then. Then the accountability and the buck stops with them. I think the problem a lot of guys got is that women, are demanding leadership themselves and they don't want to be fully accountable and shit.
Yeah.
I just don't like, but I would force them to be accountable. Fuck, if you're in a political office, you're a manager at a corporation, you gotta be accountable. You can't just check out of accountability when you fucking desire. That's bullshit. What's up, Z? Mr. Z, what's up?
What's going on? What's going on, Green Gorilla? Thank you for having me up.
What's happening with you, bro?
Nothing much. No, but well,
man,
so go ahead,
Mr. Z. Go ahead.
Okay. No,
hold on. Before you go, let me shout out Be About Peace and Pleasure. He said, we've been forced to be have we been forced to be egalitarian, or is this a conscious decision in regards to black men?
It's so what happens is it's a combination of both, right? So again, it's like what you said, right? You're gonna spend a certain amount of time, tethered to a woman, right? So and we know in our community, you have a lot of boys who are made eunuchs, in a sense before they become men. And sad and most unfortunately, like my perspective is, since no one is coming to save us, right, there has to be some form of internal locus of self-control where you have to find a way to cross that fucking threshold, right? And say, yo, this shit, it's not working. So again, shout out to the fact now that we have a manosphere, right? Where these things could be pointed out, right? And when guys do go through that whole thing of red pill rage and all of that, once you come out on the other end of it, you're now free to make new and better decisions, right? And so thank God for something like a manosphere where a lot of guys could get this information at 20 and 30 or whatever, and and turn their lives around for the better.
Go ahead, Black Mr. Z. True indeed.
So thank you for having me up once again. Okay, so this egalitarian conversation, you see the hypocrisy. So by the way, I've caught like the last 5 minutes. So anything before that, I ain't catch, right? So if I'm saying something that you already said, Green Gorilla, you could stop me, or Sandog, you could stop me. Can you guys hear me well still?
Yeah, I hear you.
Because I know I'm on the expressway. Okay, perfect. So and this is one of the things I think we keep on running into is the issue of, do you really mean egalitarian? Do you know what comes with that? Do you know what comes with equality? Do you actually understand what that means? And people want both, and they want the best of both systems, and the responsibility and the accountability of neither. I'm talking about the women, right? So like I into you see it everywhere you go. It's I want to be boss chick, but I want a man that's even more bossier than me, that's even in a better position than me, right? Or I want egalitarian in the workforce. I want egalitarianism but I don't want egalitarian when it comes to paying these bills. Right? I wanted to apply until we start talking about what, like your title says, leadership, protection, provision. Then I don't want egalitarianism anymore. And people are trying to reconcile both, and I would argue that's what we're running into. The problems we're running into, particularly when it comes to the relationship between heterosexual men and heterosexual women, is the fact that the women don't actually want egalitarianism when it's time to have children, pay these bills, and when something go bump in the night, right? So yeah, I don't think they mean it when it comes to that, and I think that's where all the fallout is coming from, which is also having social and political ramifications outside of the bedroom, right? So, and I'll pause right there.
Yeah, but that's the thing, Mr. Z, and shout out to you, man. You're like one of my favorite people in this space, man. The thing, and that's
why.
The trap.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, because that's the trap as a man. The thing is that you can't turn it off, right? So again, it's think about like teenagers, right? Teenagers are people, boys and girls, who are caught in flux between adulthood and adolescence.
Yes.
Yes. Right? And when you look at teenagers, they're adults when they want to be, and when shit goes wrong, all of a sudden, but I'm only 15, right? So so for me personally, and I've had this conversation with Nameless and a lot of people, and like when you look at like, let's say sisters like For Harriet or Steph Cole, like the back and forth that they have with the manosphere, and I wish I could talk to them, because I would tell them the reason why you're having a back and forth with these guys is because these guys, in their very nature, are egalitarian. They want to work with you. They want to cooperate with you. They want to love you, right, with sugars and Care Bears and everything coming down. Sandog himself is not an egalitarian. So when I hear people like this speak, it's just womp, 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 womp. It's gobbledygook to me, right? So unless it's something like unless it's something important, like, so even like between me and my wife will be like, it's funny like how there are things you care about, things you don't care about. And I'm like, yeah, whatever this is, I don't care about. What I care about is what I care about. So for me, it's kind of it's kind of filtered. But since a lot of Black men share a more egalitarian type stances, that's what facilitates these conversations. For me, really, it's either you can get with this or you cannot, and that's the end of it. There's no rationalization with you, right?
Let me just say this shit, man. Look, everybody knows that women have a say in the context of a relationship if they ever been in one with a woman for real. Okay.
No. But let me.
I'm just. All I want to do is just, look. I'm not trying to controvert anything you're saying. Okay. Yeah. I'm just speaking the obvious. Like, I don't know how many of you ever had like significant others or some shit like that. Because I got
one right now.
I'm just saying that maybe perhaps, man, a lot of guys really don't have that much experience with women. Period. I mean, I don't know, man. I can't speak to, the average person who watches this content. I don't know. I can't speak to it. But I do know that they have the capacity or the ability to, ensure that their voice is heard and that, sometimes shit goes their way. Whether they supposed to be in a leadership position or not. Like, even a submissive wife knows how to get her fucking shit, her issue off, and to let her voice be heard. Okay? I mean, even children know how to do this shit. Okay? So the very idea that it's, like a guy can just be like barking off orders by pointing his finger and shit like that, like, that's unrealistic, man. That's not how leadership actually works anyway. Any effective or good leader is going to be looking out for the collective and sometimes looking out for the people he's leading even more so than himself.
No, this is correct. Like what I just told you with me and my wife. Like, there's a lot of stuff she does because I don't care. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't care. Okay, hey, whatever you're going to do, I don't care. I care about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is what I care about. But again, like to your very point, she has a lot of free reign on what she does. If she's like, hey, I'm gonna go have coffee with my friends or whatever, that's one thing. Sandog has maybe 3 to 5 things that he cares about, right? Where it's going to be, okay, well, I have a clear idea of what I want or what I would like to see happen, or in discussions there could be points of contention. But outside of those 3 to 5 things, like I said, I don't care. And when I talk about in terms of being not being an egalitarian, it's this. So again, so one of the things that like I would like to remind people of about me is what I have not lived in America since 2003, right? I live. So when I say I'm conservative or things of that nature or whatever, for the most part, as an adult, I lived a tribal culture, right? So again, from Afghanistan till now, and then on top of that, I'm Muslim. So I've been living with the work that I've done. I've been living with tribes, you know what I'm saying? Again, tribes of people. And even within this, women have a lot of, again, to Gigi's point, they have a lot of power. They have a lot of power. They have a lot of say. But then at the end of it, there is a balance. It's not the same thing like what you guys have in the States. So, you know, it's not the same thing as you guys have in the States. And then also to the vetting process is stringent. So put it this way. So in the States, right, or in the culture that you guys have over there, a woman could be very disagreeable and you'll still marry her, right? So this is what Sandog is getting at. Like if I was courting a girl and that girl in courtship was somebody who was disagreeable or constantly on pushback or whatever the case might be, it's not gonna, at least for me, it's not gonna go far.
Right. I mean, right. I get the point. So the idea, first of all, is men don't vet. Like, we go for the fat ass and the cute face in America anyway. You know, the trophy wife is what guys are looking for. You know, like the wife that, you know, he can parade around and his manhood is connected to, you know, like who he's fucking, put it that way. That's not how other guys around the world actually are, you know, assessed. I mean, I'm not to say that, you know, that there's no assessment related to man's ability to be fertile and to have women, but like for us, it's just like some backward shit, you know? And then it's done outside of the context of a family situation. It's just individual motherfuckers, you know, pursuing pleasure and hedonism and shit. There's no order or structure to any of it.
But so, I mean, Gigi and
yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead. I'll ask the question after.
But at the end of the day, all I'm trying to say is, even if it's the case, and this is the shit that fucks me up in the United States, right? I'm trying to tell guys this. It doesn't matter if you're a sterling motherfucking leader, like you are that guy. It doesn't matter even if you are on your P's and Q's and you are the shit and you are setting the standard and you do have all of your ducks in a row and you got your I's dotted and your T's crossed. It really doesn't matter because at the end of the day, the legal system and the family court system and a whole host of institutions and cultural practices work to their benefit, bro. So it's not like individual power is just exercised, like she's being able to do something to you because that's just the type of nigga you are. It's an entire constellation of institutions and social practices that put you in a precarious position in this country, man, or Western culture. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's more or less bad in different Western countries, but like this ain't the best of them. I know it probably is worse in Canada from what I understand. But I mean, what the fuck can you do if your wife just decides unilaterally, like, okay, I don't want to, he's a great leader, great with the kids, he's just boring, I like the pool guy. What the fuck can you do about it? There's nothing you can do about it, and because there's no fault divorce, she can be dead fucking wrong, and she still can get the lion's share of your resources with no motherfucking, no shame, no culpability, no nothing. No, that's a problem. And you guys are talking about, I'm an alpha man. I don't give a fuck about really actually guys being alpha as much as I care about like the systems in which they carry out their behavior and their powers and capacities as human beings. All this, like what if you have moral character and fortitude, and I'm not saying you shouldn't have it. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm also saying that we have to be realistic here about what, can happen and what can go wrong, even if it's something that you didn't bring to, fruition yourself. I mean, this is how the shit is. And then you got people, man, in this country, white, Asian, like Latino, brown, whatever you want to call it. A lot of these chicks are just narcissistic and materialistic as fuck, and they're looking to use people. And they extort people for resources.
So, my question, because I think we already established that the ladies ain't looking for egalitarianism, for real. They don't want what it really look like. The question then becomes, what are black men gonna do in that space, knowing that the ladies don't because I think Sandogs was speaking to it earlier. I just want to reiterate this question, which is, if we understand that the system isn't truly egalitarian, number one, right? On paper, yes. Not on paper, no. Right? So, and the ladies don't actually want egalitarianism anyway. How do you then, and this is kind of where you were going, Gigi, how do you then protect yourself? Right? Especially in a system that says that it is, but it's not on paper. I mean, on paper it is, but it's not.
The only way you can, this is why fucking MRAs popped up in the first fucking place. Why are we behind the party on this shit?
We're not. We're not.
Yeah.
But the conversation ends up devolving into some alpha shit to me. Yeah. Well, I'm this type of man. Well, I'm not saying you guys specifically are doing that.
Yeah. But isn't that what always happens, Green Gorilla? Like, doesn't it, like, because so you this is my YouTube certificate right here, right? So, like, isn't that what always happens? Is like, whenever the structures don't seem to like be practicing what they say on paper, people usually devolve into like the do for self stuff and like the alpha your way through stuff and like the self-help stuff. Like, I think that's where we're going with like the alpha stuff. It's like,
the only advice Sandog was given in regards to this, right? Again, right? Gigi and I are in the same fraternity, the school and everything else in terms of men protecting themselves. My only thing for a lot of men is, don't be in a rush to stick your penis into these women. Take a step back and give yourself a chance and give yourself and her a chance to see who and what she is beyond what she looks like, or the 15 minutes of pleasure that you would have dealing with them, right? So, like, for me, I didn't become sexually active until I was just about 20, right? So in my little anecdotal life experience, what I discovered by living that lifestyle was that there were women who were physically attractive, but I did not like them as people, right? So, maybe this girl had bad manners, right? This girl, this girl is socially violent, or whatever the case might be. So all I'm saying is that in my little anecdotal lifestyle, if my advice is worth the damn, I was just saying is that, because again, a lot of us, right, especially in our culture, right, a lot of manhood is predicated on, running through these holes and everything else and all of that stuff. And my thing was, put a little distance between them and run your hetero relationships the same way you run your same-sex relationships. So if Mr. Z and Sandog are homeboys, right? There's stuff that Mr. Z ain't gonna fucking take off of Sandog, right? But, right, if you take Sandog's bullshit and put lipstick, titties, and 30 inches of ass on it, maybe Mr. Z starts letting shit, you know what I'm saying? Maybe Mr. Z starts letting shit slide a little bit. So my thing is, again, easier said than done, right? But to the best of your ability, right? Give yourself a chance to deal with these women and observe them as people. And what you'll end up finding out is some of them are cool and a lot of them you don't even like as people.
So I'm not.
I agree with that.
I'm not. I don't necessarily disagree, but I would say this because I'm not in the business of solving the human condition. I don't think it's possible. Not at least without any sort of evolutionary pressures or technology that's out of this world.
Correct.
So
agreed. Yeah.
I think that I don't usually try to advise what men do with their dicks because I don't know. I don't know that telling them what they will or won't do will solve this issue. I think ultimately, like the choice and the decisions that you've made within your life, I think you have a good blueprint already. So telling them anything different would be kind of foolish. So I think that my advice to men overall has and will continue to be that men ought to go out of this country if what they seek is for a fruitful relationship. If they want to have marriage and family, then this country is not the place to do it, man. Like this entire country is predicated on ideals that aren't conducive to long lasting healthy relationships, especially not at this point in time. It's just not possible. I mean, well, it's possible, excuse me, it's just not probable. So
that's my whole I've been saying that shit from day one. Like, I don't know why people don't listen to what I have to say on my channel, and then what these guys end up doing is they end up talking about, well, you're saying that men are weak, or you want to have a pity party and you want to cry. I'm saying that the court is not in your advantage. You're behind enemy lines trying to have shit your way, and you act like you running this motherfucker, and you are the dirtiest thing in sight. You are a pickaninny, man. I don't know how pickaninnies all of a sudden have established themselves as the fucking, like, the sole controllers and the arbiters of what the fuck is going on in America. I don't understand it, bro. I'm confused as fuck. I hear it incessantly about various pickaninnies acting as if they are the head niggas in charge. What are you ahead of, man? The pig trough? Like, what the fuck are you in charge of, bro? The slop trough? You don't run this shit, man. Bill Gates ran this motherfucker. Okay? Jeff Bezos runs this motherfucker. Warren Buffett runs this motherfucker. George Bush runs this motherfucker. Donald Trump runs this motherfucker. Okay? Even when you had a nigga in the White House, he ain't run the motherfucker because he was too timid. He was timid as fuck. All he did was bend over backwards to try to cooperate and reach some sort of modus vivendi with the right. All I see him do is try to do, let's cooperate, let's talk and let's deliberate. Fuck all that. You in the bully pulpit bullying that motherfucker. I ain't see him bully.
Nope.
I ain't see him push shit for niggas for real. Unilaterally.
And so
I'm everybody's president. When it comes to white folks, when has a white person ever said ever, well, I'm gonna do for everybody, I'm not just gonna do for white folks? You ever heard that shit ever?
No, and so I was gonna end it off with this because I actually got to get my ass to work, man. And so that's usually one of my first remedies, at least to the problem, because I think that's sound. I think that you have a higher likelihood of getting those outcomes elsewhere. I think that if you're looking for internal change within this country when it comes to relationships, when it comes to these ideas about egalitarianism, well, then you have to fundamentally have some sort of paradigm shift within this country. And what would cause a paradigm shift? You have to break down some of the structures. That's just the truth of it. Some of these structures have to be fundamentally changed. And that means that when it comes to the way that we handle child support, all these things that basically the MRS have been crying about for years, right? All these things have to be fundamentally dealt with. And when it comes to our platonic relationships, we have to have a hard look at the way that we do capitalism. We have to have a hard look at it. And then, when these ideas about egalitarianism, foundation, they actually are somewhat, not entirely, because obviously it's a catch-22 when it comes to black folks in this nation, but it is fine. It's a predicate of some of the ideas of the Enlightenment that some were carried over to this country. It just is, right?
Well,
So you have to.
So look, it's one thing to say, look, this is why a lot of like people that we know say things like SYSBM or MGTOW or shit like that, right? Or like, I'm not fucking with these chicks, or I'm passporting or whatever. The only reason that these guys are doing it's not like they don't want to have, because it would be more convenient if they could just, hitch their wagon where they are and build a family and keep it moving. But like guys feel like they got to bend over backwards and go do extra shit in order to go get what they want, which is actually quite natural in terms of biology. I mean, that's what we do. We reproduce, okay? But here's the thing. In this country, reproduction is no longer monitored by a community of others. It's just not. It's just individuals fucking, like pigs and shit. Like, what's up? It's hookup culture, man. It just is. The sex wasn't that way in America. It is that way now. It wasn't that way in the 30s, in the 20s. I'm pretty sure it was happening, and I'm not saying that nobody was engaged in hooking up, okay? But by and large, there were consequences associated with fucking, okay? It wasn't birth control pills and shit like that. And, IUDs and Norplants and shit like that. You can get a motherfucker pregnant, man. And then there's real life consequences, not just from, a legal system, but like other people's families. Like, what you gonna do is step up related to this kid.
Shotguns may or may not be involved.
But there's no overwhelming pressure. There's no social stigmatization related to wanton sexual activity anymore. And that's by and large the result of the sexual revolution, which took place alongside and conjointly with the feminist revolution or the feminist movement. Mm-hmm. And then you get shit like Cosmopolitan, which is like, the female equivalent of Playboy or Hustler or some shit. It is what it is. So now you're asking for people who've been indoctrinated into a lifestyle to think differently, like when they actually get married, which, it's conflicting messages, but the whole point is, who has the discipline for it? Everybody's told you can do what you want. You can have whatever you want. If things get rough, you can just break it off. You'll find somebody else and all this kind of shit. Even after having 3 or 4 or 5 kids.
Yeah, those negative liberty, values, the way that they come through only reinforces those ideas. So, you get what you get. But anyway, I gotta go, guys.
And they're having issues reconciling their autonomy with their want for male protection. Going back to what you're saying, Gigi, and I actually wanted to state the absolute, super obvious it was a rhetorical question, but I'm gonna say it anyway. To what you were saying earlier, Gigi, and that's brothers' egos. Their egos are the reason why they think that they're Warren Buffett and Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos and all of that. That's brothers' ego speaking, and it does challenge your masculinity and your sense of manhood when you think of your power or lack thereof and other black men as a group power or lack thereof in comparison to Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg, and continuing, right, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's brothers' egos where like, no, I'm a man just like they're a man, right? And yeah, so.
I'm not saying, look, okay, so look, let me let people understand. Look, right. And this is why I say, like, people don't understand the problem of the nigger, being a nigger. Like, it's not that I'm saying that you are a nigger. It's just that this is how you're typecast in America when they desire you to be that. They've created this. This is what they've fabricated from their social relations. This is what they've done. Now, of course, black people didn't ask to be niggers or want to be treated like niggers. But it is what it is. Like, Oprah went to Switzerland and went into a Chanel shop and tried to get a bag, and the fucking lady there told her, you can't have this. No, I'm not going to show you this. No, I'm not. Henry Louis Gates is on Harvard breaking into his house. Now, if a white boy was breaking into his house, he would have got the benefit of the doubt. Especially a middle-aged white boy on Harvard's campus. What's going on here, sir? You need help? You see a black man doing that shit, the automatic knee-jerk reaction is, this motherfucker's on some shit, because we already know the cultural superimposition is that you are at the bottom of the dominance hierarchy. Not because of your merits, but because of the social relationship that exists between white and black that we've established through law and fucking slavery and Jim Crow and all this other shit over centuries.
Yes.
Okay, now it's not because you don't have initiative and all of this shit, or I'm asking for niggas to lie down and let them let themselves be fucked in the anus and don't, strive or anything. This is fucking silly shit. Now, I mean, all I'm saying is you got to be realistic. If you're on the court and you're playing basketball and you just so happen to run into a game that's been playing for 2 or 3 quarters, you just got in the game, you fresh. Now, you a freshman in high school, but your ass is in the NBA and you ain't had no NBA playing time at all. How you gonna play the game at an expert level? You think you're gonna come in that motherfucker like Ja Morant? Or like Steph Curry just draining threes? Or it's gonna be like, this is some accelerated shit here. Not like it's impossible for me to compete, but damn it, they got the game rigged for their own kind.
I think the brothers that we're speaking about have a difficult time reconciling their individual merit, and like you're saying, it's the concept of meritocracy that was pushed on us.
Mr. Z, it would be different if these motherfuckers were balling out of control, bro. It's one thing for a nigga to be middle class, upper middle class, or to have a burgeoning small business, which I guarantee you, most niggas that got businesses, they're small businesses.
Yes.
They're not like fucking multi-mega million corporations, bro, franchised out and shit. So you got a little way to make some coins and some beans. Good for you, nigga. But what you eating ain't making me shit. You're not paying my taxes. You're not giving me no health insurance. You ain't giving me no fucking job. And you don't have the power to do that.
Yeah.
You just don't have the power to do it. Like, I'm not saying don't strive, don't struggle, don't try to get shit, but you got to understand the parameters of the game in which you're playing. Now, I'm not saying that, you give up, but then you got to play the game a little bit differently. You got to understand the way that you're playing the game is going to have to be different than the white boy you're playing the game with.
Yeah. Yep.
You have to. Like, to say that you don't is to be absolutely fucking naive. We're talking about a group of people who have global political power and military prowess, man. Not just, what they doing in domestic, they doing this shit foreignly.
Yep.
And then we're sitting here having a conversation about we just don't want to be this. We just want to sit on our asses. You think black men just want to sit on their asses? When has this ever been the case in history? Unless you buy in to what the stereotypes they say about us. Even thugs are striving out here. Maybe in a fucked up way, but even them motherfuckers is saying, let's get it out the mud. Not like people are just lying on their ass. Now, there are some people, that's just in any culture or society, there are going to be people who are lying on their ass and not trying to step up and be productive. We already know this. But for guys in this space, man, I'm just saying, prove it to me that you're the alpha that you say you are. Prove to me that you are this balling ass nigga you say you are, and that it will protect you from being a nigga in the United States. Prove it. Prove that you that nigga, and that not only is it just working for you, but it's working for the people you're immediately surrounded by. I'm saying, show me the receipts. Now, don't ask for me to show you a receipt, because I never said that I was this alpha motherfucker and everybody needs to follow me. to the promised land. I didn't say I was Moses, but a lot of you motherfuckers in this space are saying they're Moses and shit. Like they got all the answers and they know all the steps that need to be taken. And they also have these sterling characters that put them in these optimal positions above and beyond anybody else. To me, it ain't shit but motherfucking alpha rhetoric without saying alpha shit. That's all it is, bro. And quite frankly, I'm just saying this, man. No, all shit aside. Sandog.
Yo.
You the bros, right?
Yep.
I'm the bros, right?
Yep.
No disrespect to anybody, right? In the black manosphere. I am the bros, man. Okay? And what I mean by that is I am a member of a fraternity. It's niggas in my fraternity in every city, bro. Every city every major city in the United States, bro.
And country.
I'm talking about Korea, the Philippines. It's bros from Africa that is in my chapter, motherfucker. Like straight from fucking Kenya and shit. In my chapter. It's bros and it's bros every fucking where, okay? Now I'm not in any city in this goddamn country, Chicago, Atlanta, Houston, Memphis, wherever the fuck, St. Louis, wherever it is, I can go meet motherfuckers that's lawyers, doctors, police officers, politicians, dog catchers, wherever the fuck it is they there. The question is, what networks do you motherfuckers have to plug into? And just be honest about it. A bunch of ragtag, loosely associated motherfuckers online? Come on, man. Stop the cap, bruh. Cut the fucking cap out, man. We already know niggas is balling out of control, bro. Now, everybody in the frat ain't balling out of control. And it's not a requirement that they be in order to be accepted and acknowledged as a brother within the context of the fucking organization. It's not a requirement. This demonstration of I'm an alpha. But I guarantee you, if you you take 10 motherfucking dudes in my frat and put them next to 10 motherfuckers in the black manosphere, who you think gonna be able to get more resources going for themselves just in the world? For real, no disrespect. No disrespect, man. I'm talking about whether it be money, hoes, political offices, whatever the case may be, you do the math on it, bro. I'm not even trying to be ignorant, man. And I'm more humble, because one of the motherfucking mottos in our fraternity is humility with dignity, man. But I'm saying, where is the humility? So a lot of guys, well, I'm a man, and I'm productive, and I get work done, and I feel like I'm this, and I'm that. So fucking what, man? That's the shit I'm tripping off of. Like, who gives a fuck, man? So what, I'm supposed to follow you now? Like, walk around following behind your ass like a lost puppy because you got a job? I don't even do that to niggas, man. If I know some famous niggas in the frat, I'm not about to kiss their ass. Motherfuckers, mayors and all kind of shit. What I'm about, all of a sudden I'm supposed to kiss your ass? You a man just like I am, man. And when you die, you gonna leave with the same shit you came into the world with. But you want motherfuckers to kiss y'all ass. Well, I'm this and I'm that, and I've demonstrated that I'm alpha. So fucking what, man? I ain't trying to be ignorant by saying that. I'm not even trying to be ignorant. But if you're talking about networking, what the fuck networking are y'all doing by disrespecting each other over and over and over and over and over? It's stupid to me, man. It's just ridiculous shit. All I'm saying is, man, it ain't too many motherfuckers on my social, Rolodex that I noticed are like some cowering punk bitch made ass weak ass niggas that if they suffering through something are gonna sit on their ass and cry. Because, you know, it's all about, you know, seeing it through. It's all about, like, life ain't been no crystal stir. It's like we all go up and down. It's different points in your life where you go through trials and tribulations. It's not about crying about shit, because you're going to cry anyway. If you're a man and you've been living in this world for 30, 40, 50 years plus, there's going to be some shit to make you cry, bro. And if you say no, I'm saying you're a liar. You're a fucking liar. I'm just getting tired of all this fake ass alpha shit. And the only thing that pisses me off about it is, I don't believe you niggas are them guys. Especially the ones talking all the alpha talk. How many hardcore alpha motherfuckers you know go around disparaging people that they perceive to be weaker than them?
I don't know
Like
how
for
many
real,
men
like
are truly
legitimate
alpha.
motherfucker, huh?
I don't know how many people are actually truly alpha. I never use that. I never refer to myself or just about any other man as that, because I don't know how many men I actually come in contact with. First of all, I don't even know what brothers usually mean, or men in general usually mean when they say alpha. Then secondly, I don't know how many people actually fit into that definition of whatever somebody would call an alpha anyway.
But all I'm doing is saying this, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to leave it alone. I won't say anything else about it. Look, bro, if you call other people weak, or you say that other people are not, you know, real men, or they're not quote unquote productive, or whatever type of epithet you want to use to try to distance yourself from other people in order to show that, you know, in terms of comparison, you're better than they are. Like, in what domain, in what regard? Like, why should I give a fuck? Like, so what? Mm-hmm. You better than me, dog? Okay, go ahead, man. Enjoy your betterness. And enjoy your power. On a plantation. Like, who gives a fuck, bro? But I think more than anything else, man, it's a lot of guys, man, you know, who like really get, you know, they pay too much attention to this shit, man. That's why I say, like, it's a lot of Tri-Lam shit going on. Revenge of the Nerves and shit. Like, motherfucking, what's the name of that dude, man?
Good movie reference.
Yeah, man, it's a lot of Tri-Lam shit, man.
What, Lamar?
Yeah, man, running around with a flimsy ass javelin and shit, man. But dog, go ahead, man. Get you some rest, man. I'm about to get off, man. We've been on here for 2 hours and 37 minutes, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna go pray. But no, man, look, you know, the whole point of this conversation, right, in regards to how egalitarianism doesn't facilitate leadership. Again, if you go back to the beginning of the conversation, right, I mentioned that especially in ADOS world, right, you're born into it. You're already clipped at the wings, right? So what I was hoping to do in this discussion was to help Black men have a different perspective in regards to where you could draw a line in the sand for yourself, right? Again, like I told you before, the revolution won't be televised. So this is all within you, right? So again, and so the revolution is happening with things like SYSBM, you know, dudes are traveling, you know, they're doing different things, you know, or they're, you know, MGTOW, MRA, you know, whatever else is out there. But also too, I'm just sharing with you some of the small things that you can do to avoid the pitfalls of the circumstance that you're in, which is rushing to slide your penis into like I said, into these women without
Venus flytrap.
Correct, yeah, but without actually vetting them, without actually vetting them, and you know what I'm saying, and getting, and like I said, and getting to know them, right? So that's all I'm saying, and then pointing out the hypocrisy within American society. So everything that I was talking about before was not about alphaing your way through it, but understanding that the things that make a good leader are things that Black men, we're gonna have to start to want these things for ourselves as individuals first, prior to, because again, right, because most black men out of the West, period, have an egalitarian attitude. And the thing is, especially in the West, right, marriage is painted as this, we fell in love, it's Disney, it's this, that, and the third. So you're not looking at it from the family, the duty, or the business aspects of it as well. So Sandog has been lucky to be put in a position, because even in the States, the women that I've dated always came from these cultures where you've been vetted. Like, so it's like I told you, I've been on dates with girls where their father and their brothers were on the other side of the restaurant. Right. So that doesn't happen. Again, that doesn't happen, again, for a lot of people, again, within our culture, right? So when the date was over, her father and her brothers took her home, and I took my silly ass home, right? Versus it's me and her, and like, yo, what you wanna, like I said, what you wanna do next. So all I was talking about was, again, because shout out to PK, Angel, and Gigi. You're not going to change this without institutions, and you cannot be a leader if you do not have the ability to punish. This is, like I said, this is completely true. And again, and then also shout out to Angry Man, who said it a long time ago, right? You have this community that's a mess, but you stripped us of the power to be able to fix it, right? So all of this stuff, like I said, Sandog is really aware of. All I was just sharing with you was that there are very small things on an individual level that you could do to avoid getting caught in this Venus flytrap. You know what I'm saying? And that's really, like I said, that's what really my overall message is. And the point that I want to make for both men and women, right? So when you see women, when they get upset at the word submission and all of this stuff, what you need to understand is that submission is quintessential to protection, right? So God gave Sandog the 10 Commandments. If Sandog goes out there and commits fornication, right, I'm no longer under God's protection. I'm now at the mercy of that situation, and ultimately the mercy of that chick. Right? So even in the Bible, and I'll say this and I'll shut up, when David, peace be upon him, so for Muslims, we don't believe this happened, by the way, right? So we would say, God forbid. But when in the Bible, when David killed Uriah to get to his wife Bathsheba, right? And God punished David and said, you did a horrible thing. And God told David, hey, your options are two things. Either you get banished to the desert, or I deliver you to the hands of men. And David's response was like, you know what? Banish me to the desert, Lord, and put me in your hands, for at least you are merciful and men are not. Right? So the thing is, so like I said, so the thing is in that regard is, again, from Sandog's perspective, just the little things that you can do to keep yourself, again, out of that circumstance, which is to be a leader to yourself and understand that there are certain non-negotiables within you. So if you have rules that you don't bend or break for yourself, more than likely you're not going to bend and break them for other people.
Sounds good, man. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Z, you got anything you want to follow up with?
Mine's is simple. Egalitarianism is a trap. The vast majority of women don't mean it in the West, in America in particular. They don't mean it. That doesn't. But it's very interesting. You're almost in a space where you can't actually say that out loud, right? That's the funny part, right? You can't say that they don't mean it, even though you know they don't mean it, and they know they don't mean it. Right? These unwritten rules, right? Like, we both know that but you can't say I'm BSing you, right? Just be there when the fact that I was BSing you comes to the forefront, like when something go bump in the night, right, or something like that, or when it's time for this bill to get paid. That's the interesting part. And that was pretty much all I have. When we were speaking about brothers, like I told you, it's ego, and I understand the ego. I understand being a black man in America, and seeing how non-black men get to move, particularly white men, and you know, and people telling you that you, not even telling you this, the society showing you that you're not able to move the same way. I mean, we have black people, right? Say one of Diddy's sons does something heinous or says something heinous. How can Diddy's son claim affluenza, right? Can one of Dr. Dre's kids claim affluenza, right? How many do you have rich people in 10, 15 years? One of Jay-Z's children does something heinous. Can one of them claim affluenza? If it's all about the money, then we got rich kids, rich white kids claiming affluenza when they do something heinous, and the judge sometimes upholds it. And a black child comes from, I'm going all the way to the top. I'm not even talking about no local rich people. I'm talking about all the way, hundreds of millions of dollars, you know, child of a rich black person. They can't claim that, and we all know it, right? So the ego thing that you know, and with black I said black guru. I don't know because of the conversation we had earlier, what Gigi was speaking about earlier. So that's all I got. You know, yeah, these women don't mean egalitarian, and brothers are in egos when they start talking about their power and their influence and their control, and why other brothers don't have no money and power and status and et cetera, et cetera. I'm done. That's it.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, the only thing I can say is, man, power is not just power that you have in interpersonal relationships, but power is a social kind of relationship. Power is defined in terms of social relationships, not just interpersonal relationships. There's institutional power and all kinds of different forms of, you know, powers of persuasion, intellectual power, financial power, whatever the case may be. But it just so happens, man, I don't think that, you know, egalitarianism is what women actually are looking for. I think they're looking for power just like, you know, anybody else is. But then they hide it and conceal it under this veneer of egalitarianism. It's bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, people want power. They want their way. Like, to say that women don't want their way and won't work, you know, diligently to get it and to have it their way is a lie. I mean, there's so many instances that we've seen, you know, what tactics women will resort to in order to get what they want. Like, they'll destroy careers, they'll take children away from you, they'll do all kind of shit because they want to have control. So to say that, you know, that they don't they don't want to hold on to what power they have that's, you know, allocated to them, you know, by institutions in this country is just naive. It's fucking ridiculous. Okay? The only way you can really actually avoid it altogether is to not fuck with them. Or go somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, it's on you for what you want to do. You know, I'm not here to tell you what to do or not. But at least while you're doing what you're doing, be discerning, like Sandog says. You know what I'm saying? Like, just, you know, use your powers of discernment, be disciplined, and don't make some of the mistakes that some of us have made, you know, by sticking our dicks into something that was cute with a fat ass. Okay? It is what it is. You know, I love my kids, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I don't have no problems with, you know, their baby mamas and shit, you know. Or, you know what I mean? You know, the baby mamas or whatever. I only got one left. One died. God bless her soul, whatever the case may be. But in terms of, like, you know, my youngest, her mother's still living, whatever. No problem. We cool. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but of course, my kid is grown now. Shit. You know what I'm saying? Both of them. That's the youngest kid. My youngest kid, 20 years old. She fucking grown to me. That shit is over with. You know what I'm saying? So, but don't fall into the traps and the pitfalls, man, that exist out here, because it can make your life a living hell, for real. You know what I'm saying? You got a nagging ass woman you got to deal with for 18, 20 years and shit like that, man. That's terrible, man. Motherfuckers get your resources, taking like what, for all intents and purposes, it could be like fucking a quarter of a mortgage or some shit. Or half a mortgage. And you got to pay that for a kid that you really don't even have any impact over other than through visitation, which is not really an actual form of leadership. Visiting? Imagine that shit. Like, she doesn't visit the kid. She's a parent to the kid. You visit. So this is the shit that exists out here for you. We trying to tell you what it is. It's not like, oh, well, you know, cry about it. No, work and actively try to get it, you know, like, changed if you can. But like while you're trying to, you know, like while some guys are going through these rigors or whatever the case may be, man, all this old alpha shit, man, fuck all that. I ain't trying to hear it. Do what the fuck you want to do, but leave me out of that alpha shit. Or show me the receipts. That you that motherfucker. That wherever you go, man, motherfuckers is like, okay, yeah, we fuck with him. Not online either, in real life. Now, I never said I was the top motherfucker. Like everywhere I go, motherfuckers jocking me and giving me respect and shit. But, you know, I get my little respect where I go. But, man, I'm not even seeking to try to demonstrate that I'm better than somebody else. Especially not for no cash on YouTube. So having said all that, man, I'll holler at y'all later, man. You know what I'm saying? It's been one. Peace.